you? That sounds funky. Testing.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member has reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of this act, they should state so at this time. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Werner,
Here.
Mr. Venuto,
Here.
Mr. Levwin, Mrs. Notch,
Here.
Ms. Sheehan, Mr. Walsh,
Here.
Mr. Zexer,
Here.
Mr. Yeager, Ms. Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the resolution for New Jersey Prime Real Estate LLC, 1507 Yacht Avenue.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay, was that Mr. Venuto motions, Ms. Sheehan seconds? Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan? Mr. Walsh?
Abstain?
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Now we need a motion to approve the minutes of April 23rd, 2026.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. I'll second.
Mr. Zexer motions, Ms. Stevenson seconds. Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan? Mr. Walsh?
Abstain?
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, our first application tonight is the Bray Family Partnership, 720 Washington Street.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. John Amenhauser, the DeWeese Law Firm, here this evening on behalf of the applicant Bray Family Partnership. Subject property for this application is 720 Washington Street here in the city of Cape May, identified as Block 1078, Lot 2 on the city's tax map. This property is located in the RS Residential Seasonal Zoning District. Through this application, the applicant seeks both C2 variance relief under the substantial benefit test as well as a D1 use variance in order to operate a 120-seat restaurant and alcoholic beverage service establishment inside the existing Southern Mansion building. As the board members obviously know, members of the public, the Southern Mansion is one of the most architecturally stunning and important structures that are located within the city of Cape May. The applicant has undertaken a lot of time, energy, and financial resources in order to preserve this property, beautify it, and put it into the condition that it is in today. In doing that, she's seeking to come to you tonight to expand its current use for the inclusion of the bar restaurant that we just spoke of, in addition to the existing use as a tourist guest house and the special events that are conducted on site. In addition to needing the D1 use variance, there is, as I mentioned, C2 variance relief related to the proposed off-street parking surface that is shown on the site plan that is located in the back of the room to the rear. There are 10 parking spaces that are proposed in front of the expansion of the building, as is shown on the plan. We need an off-street parking variance related to the deficiency from a strict reading of your zoning ordinance as to required number of parking spaces, as well as a variance related to the surface and curbing in that proposed parking area. Here with me this evening is Paul Cates. Paul is going to testify tonight as a professional planner and professional engineer. Paul did design the site plan, and he is a principal with the firm of Kate Schneider Engineering. I know Paul's been here a number of times before, but we're happy to elicit credentials if needed, Madam Chair. We also, he's running a few minutes behind coming from Philadelphia, but Brian Newswanger was the architect on this project with the firm of Atlantis Architecture. He should be here within 15 minutes. I did intend to elicit testimony from Paul first, so it shouldn't present an issue from a standpoint of our presentation tonight. And lastly, to my left is Barbara Wild. Barbara is a member of the Bray Family Partnership, the applicant and the owner of the building. I do intend to elicit some testimony from Barbara at the conclusion of our presentation tonight. So if I can have both of my witnesses sworn, and then we'll have Brian sworn when he comes, if that's acceptable.
Sure. We'll also have our board engineer, Mr. Hurla, sworn in. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, all truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ms. Wild, if you could turn on your microphone. Thank you.
Good.
I do.
And Madam Chair, would you like me to elicit Mr. Cates' credentials, or is he
That's
accepted?
okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Confirm you're engineer and a planner?
Engineer and a planner, yes.
Are you a surveyor too?
No?
No, all right.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. All right. So, Paul, if you can you give the board, just based on your site plan, general overview of the existing conditions on site and what we're proposing through this application?
Yeah, so our lot is approximately 216 feet wide by 260 feet deep. We are located in the RS Residential Seasonal District, as was stated. We do have 3 road frontages, one on Corgi, Jefferson, and Washington Streets, and then the 4th side backs up to the post office. The site currently contains a tourist guest house with some event space. In addition, there's a mix of parking on different surfaces. We have stone, brick, and some existing grass block pavers. And then there's also trash enclosure, along with sidewalks, walkways, and significant landscaping. With regard to what we're proposing tonight, relative to the site, is to reconfigure the area of the grass block pavers into 10 parking spaces with the intent that it'll largely appear as a garden when not full of cars. There will be landscaping surrounding that parking area, a brick border with slate delineators to delineate the spaces, and then bollard-style low lights with the intent on preserving the historic look of the lighting, which was also at the request of the HPC.
So Paul, just to veer a little bit from what we plan to go over. So when we initially submitted this application, we were proposing a lot more off-street parking, right?
That's correct.
When we originally filed this. We went to the HPC and they didn't like the idea, right?
That's correct.
So ultimately, is what is proposed on the site plan now with the 10 spaces located where they are, was that sort of a consensus between both our group and the HPC was the best design in order to appease them and retain the historic design standards that guides them in their opinions?
Yeah, so we met with them at one of their workshop sessions, and spent quite a bit of time going through, I guess, their standards with what we were trying to accomplish, and they felt that, you know, something to this, we got a little creative with the landscaping, and the parking arrangement would be in keeping with what they see their standards. And probably the crux of that was that they don't like to see any parking in front of any historic structures. So the kind of compromise, given that we have 3 frontages and essentially no width between the addition and the postal lot, was that we would pull that parking back behind the front facade of the historic portion of the building, which is what we did. So we're proposing to abandon the existing grass block paver area and reconfigure that parking back behind the existing building facade.
And that grass block parking area that we're talking about abandoning, that is located off Washington Street in front of the front facade of the building, correct?
That's correct. And our original plan called for reconfiguring that entire area in that grass block pavers to make more efficient use of that space, and not well received by the HPC.
And then just a little bit more detail related to the 10 spaces. We know that we're identifying them as 10 off-street parking spaces, which they are, and they're legally sized to be that. But with all of the landscaping and the aesthetics that you added to it, is that something that we intend to look more like an additional landscaped area, garden area, as opposed to parking?
Yeah, and I think when cars aren't in there, given the grass block pavers and, you know, the grass growing through them, and then with a boxwood surround, additional landscaping and the low lighting when cars aren't parked there, I don't know that anybody would be able to identify it as a parking lot other than the signage and directing patrons to that area. But largely from the street, it'll appear as an additional garden. And then even when cars are parked there, the boxwood hedge surrounding it will kind of soften the view of the cars from the street as well.
Okay. All right, so Paul, based on what I'd went over in my introduction in our application file, we're asking for a D1 use variance, right, related to the proposed use in the building, as well as some variance relief under the C2 criteria related to number of off-street parking spaces, required paved surface area, and parking lots with curbing. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Let's start with the D1, the use variance. Is it your professional opinion, based on your understanding of the site, your preparation of the plan, and your knowledge as a professional planner, that this location is particularly suited for the use that we are proposing as a restaurant and alcoholic beverage service establishment?
I do. So given that I do believe the site's particularly suited, being tucked behind the post office and in an area that already has another successful bar restaurant, along with a few other commercial establishments, and how the site currently operates, the proposed use will not only complement the existing use, but will add to the vitality of the property in the neighborhood.
Okay. And then, Paul, in terms of some special reasons that you believe would be promoted, right, if the board were inclined to grant the D1 use variance, what reasons do you believe exist that would be promoted?
So I believe the plan will promote the health, safety, and general welfare. We're providing safe access to the building, and parking. We're giving the public a chance to see and experience one of Cape May's historic gems. We believe we're providing sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of residential, commercial, and recreational uses, both public and private, in order to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. This, again, will open up a historic landmark to more people with a variety of uses to meet the public and specifically tourist needs. We believe it'll promote the desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design. Again, the appearance of the parking lot as a garden will enhance the already appealing grounds and add to the visual environment. We also believe we're maintaining appropriate light, air, and open space. We're not proposing any more, any increase in the size of the structures or any more imposing site characteristics. And then we're also, I think one of the more important purposes of zoning, we're promoting the conservation of historic sites in the state to prevent urban sprawl through improper use of land. And I think that's the purpose that's at the heart of this application.
So one other thing to just touch on, it may be sort of explicit in what we filed, but aside from that off-street parking area that we're proposing, the 10 spaces, we're not otherwise affecting the exterior of this building in any way at all through this application, are we?
No, with one other exceptions, we are upgrading the existing handicap parking to current ADA requirements. But other than that upgrade and the proposed garden parking, the site will remain unchanged otherwise.
Okay. So Paul, in addition to the special reasons that you believe are promoted for granting the D1 use variance, do you see any substantial detriment that you believe might befall the public good, the neighborhood, or city of Cape May if the board were inclined to grant this relief?
No, I believe there'll be no detriment to the public or the zone plan.
All right. So Paul, that was, in keeping with the criteria related to a use variance, right? That's
Correct.
the overarching request that we're making here. But there's additional that triggered the need for some parking relief, right? Some variances related to parking that we just went over. We're asking for those under the C2 substantial benefit test. So when you consider the variance relief we're looking for related to those items, is it your professional opinion there's certain purposes of zoning advanced if the board were to grant that requested relief as well?
Yes.
And what purposes are those?
So I believe that those followed basically the same ones that I outlined, which were A, C, E, G, I, and J. And I can run through them again. That's promote the general health and welfare, provide adequate light, air, and open space, promote the establishment of appropriate population densities, provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses, and promote a desirable visual environment, along with promoting the conservation of historic sites.
So, Paul, and this is our architect that's around here. Paul, let's talk a little bit about the off-street parking, right? So we're indicating that technically under the ordinance, right, we need 69 parking spaces, right? And that accounts for required parking spaces for each of the dwelling rooms that exist in the property, spaces for proposed employees on the busiest shift, right? And then additional parking required based on the number of seats that are being proposed, right? 69 total spots would be needed to meet the ordinance requirements. We're providing 40, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. When you think about dining and restaurant establishments in the city of Cape May, is it uncommon for those establishments to require or to not have adequate off-street parking?
I think it's more common than not in Cape May and in many shore towns.
Is it, in your opinion, having 40 off-street parking spaces, is that more than most of these establishments most likely have?
Absolutely.
So despite the fact that we need a variance because we don't technically meet the standards for the ordinance, we're providing more off-street parking than most establishments that exist in the city. Would you agree?
That's correct.
All right. And you may have already indicated it, but the testimony you put on related to the positive criteria, would that be the same for the other two parking variances we need, surface, level, and curbing?
Yeah, and again, I think with those, I think those same standards apply, but I think this is a unique situation in even requesting those because it's being done to kind of preserve the historic nature and the look of the grounds. So, it's not that we couldn't or wouldn't pave it, but that we feel that this is a much better alternative, therefore supporting the positive criteria.
And then we went over this, but through our original proposal, when we proposed a lot of additional parking spaces off-site through the use of grass pavers. That plan would have met the off-street parking requirements by ordinance, right?
Yeah, we actually were able to get a plan that managed to put 70, so we actually exceeded the parking by one space.
But that noted, we would have taken away from the aesthetic look of the building, and the HPC really wasn't willing to go there
Yeah, and
to get this to
the
this
only
point,
way
right?
to accomplish that would have been to park in front of the front facade, which they were more than a little bit against.
Okay. Paul, aside from the positives, again, any substantial detriment you see befalling the public good or the zone plan of the city and the neighboring properties if the parking variances were granted that we've asked for?
None that I could see.
All right, Paul, I'm going to take you over. We requested certain waivers from the checklist requirements, and they were highlighted in Mr. Hurlis's review letter. As it relates to those particular variances that we asked for, and I'll just briefly go over them. We asked for a variance from required topography of existing and proposed conditions, proposed utility layouts for sanitary sewer lines, storm drains, et cetera, and environmental impact and traffic impact statement. Do you believe that those waivers are justified through this application, and if so, why?
Well, given the basically de minimis nature of the changes that we're making for the overall site, we believe that those are warranted. With regard to the grading, we did, in the updated grading and drainage plan that we're going to support in compliance with this, we do have additional grades. We do show topography, and we are showing proposed grades. But with regard to the underground utilities, they're not proposed to change. I believe the architect may be able, or Mr. Newswanger may be able to speak to that, but they are sized to handle the needs of the building as a whole, including the updates to the restaurant.
Paul, there was another waiver that was highlighted related to solid waste and recycling. And Mr. Hillis, rightfully so, asked for some more information related to how we're proposing to handle off trash and recycling. So can you go over, for the benefit of the board, what we're proposing to do in that area?
Yeah, so there's currently a trash enclosure. It backs up to Corgi, and it's towards the center of the parking lot in an island. It is it's 10 by 14, fully enclosed. It currently has one dumpster and so the recycling bins. And that, in looking at the operation and how it's currently utilized, that dumpster is underutilized at the moment. So the intent is to continue to use that dumpster and that trash enclosure to support the restaurant as well. And given that the applicant has the ability to increase the number of pickups during the week, and given that the trash enclosure is currently undersized, we feel like that'll more than meet the needs of the restaurant addition to the site.
So the trash pickup is privately conducted, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So when you talked about the additional pickups if needed, they can be called in order to, depending upon business in a sense, and the amount of trash.
So I understand they can schedule more than one in a week, but they can also call them and ask them to come for an extra pickup if needed. So they have a lot of flexibility there if, for some reason, they did approach the capacity of that trash enclosure, but as it stands, there's more than enough volume.
Okay. Paul, in addition to the waiver items highlighted in Mr. Hurlis's review letter, there were some general review comments in there that relate to your plan and the testimony you provide. You want to go over some of those comments and respond to them at this point?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't specifically, I mean, we had no issues with complying with any of the requirements of the report.
So I'll go over a few. In terms of lot coverage, can you confirm we didn't ask for a variance and that we comply with the lot coverage requirements in the
So-
RS zone?
Yeah, so we do comply with the lot coverage, and it is our intent to comply. We did break out a schedule of the impervious coverage, and we'll provide that in compliance plans, showing that we do comply in every area.
In terms of number 6, it calls out the need for a driveway width to be widened to 20 feet. Yeah.
For a second.
Sure.
What are we considering the standards for lot coverage? Like what zoning, I mean, you're seeking a use variance, so when you have a use variance, it can be confusing about what
What
bulk
standards? What
standards
zone?
you're applying, so you
We-
just know which ones you're applying.
We plan to utilize the SR standards, so we're not. RS, sorry.
RS standards.
The RS standards, so we're not looking to deviate.
For what use? We have a menu. Our zoning is, and I believe that the answer is for a tourist guest house.
That's
And
correct.
that was what we utilized in the schedule.
And
Those
Mr.
are
Hurlis is
saving you
correct.
time.
That's what we're
Saving you
doing.
time.
So
From looking at
You're
both.
comfortable with that, Mr. Ellis? That's an appropriate
That,
standard.
well, I think the board,
disagree, I just
the
wanna write
board
it down.
determines whether it's appropriate or not, but that's the existing lot coverage that's permitted with the existing tourist guest house.
And we are currently under what's permitted, so with this addition of the semi-permeable parking, we aren't approaching, yeah, I think currently it permits 75, and we're at 32, and we're moving up to 40,
So we're still well under.
well under.
Okay. Paul, in terms of number 6, I was getting at, the note calls out that we have to have a driveway width of 20 feet, and it looks like what we're proposing off Washington to access those 10 newly proposed spaces is 16.9 feet. Is that right?
That's correct.
So as a condition of approval, if required, would you agree to a widening of that to the 20 feet so that there is sufficient space for passing on both
Yeah,
directions?
and what we showed was the existing, but we have no issue working with Craig to, we would defer to him on how he would like to see that arranged, but widening that is not an issue.
Number 7, can you confirm that you're going to have required EV supply and service for make-ready parking spaces available?
That's our intent, yes.
Okay. And then, Paul, too, if you can, lighting of the proposed parking area, can you go over that a little bit, the 10 spaces?
So again, this was something that we worked out with the HPC, and the plans that were provided had been updated with what they had requested that we provide. So they are a low bollard light. So I believe they're only 3.5 feet tall. So they would sit low, so they wouldn't broadcast light out into the neighborhood, but they are sufficient to meet the city's lighting requirements for the parking lot itself. And then there was also 2 existing lights, which are proposed to remain.
Paul, in addition to that, too, these lights and that parking area, when you talk about not having any runoff, right, or trespass of lighting into the neighborhood, those are located in front of the expansion of this building, correct?
Correct.
So there is a buffer, in a sense, from that parking area to the neighborhood off Corgi behind it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And Jefferson as well. They'll be behind the building on Jefferson. You know, the parking lot will be visible from Washington, but being low lights with the existing hedgerow that surrounds the property and the proposed boxwood hedge around the parking, light disturbance should be incredibly minimal.
Okay. Paul, there's some other standard conditions of approval contained in Mr. Hurls' review letter. Any objection to those as conditions of approval?
No objection.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add before we turn it over to Mr. Newswanger, Paul?
Maybe just one thing, that given the parking requirements, so I was going to say that, yeah, so again, you know, being in a shore town and not exclusive to Cape May, we see many people show up, park where they're staying, and then walk, bike, Uber. They find alternative modes of transportation to get around the city. And as such, we also felt that, you know, promoted the use variant or the parking variance, and the need for parking is diminished. That's not to say that parking isn't always a premium, but bars in particular are not the first place people think to drive. So I think what we see around the city is we see more people walking, biking, and Ubering to bars and restaurants, and we don't see this as being any different.
Okay. Anything else, Paul?
That's it.
Madam Chair, if I don't know if you'd rather me get through Mr. Newswanger's testimony before questions?
Yes.
All right. Ronnie, and is Mr. Newswanger recognized?
I,
As a
have you
professional?
been before the
Well,
board
let's just say
before?
what your license is. if we could.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just go over some credentials. Brian.
Brian Newsmeyer with Atlantis Architects. We've been in business for
You got to use the mic. Mike.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. It's Brian Newsmeyer with Atlantis Architects. We've been in business, I've been practicing architecture for 43 years. We're based in Philadelphia and are licensed in Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Have been actively involved in this project, other projects in Cape May, West Cape May, and up and down the Jersey Shore, and are very familiar with the area. Have done numerous other projects in the region.
Okay.
Can you spell that for me real quick? I'm just trying to find it.
Newswanger, Newswanger.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Madam Chair, I don't think Mr. Newswanger was sworn. He wasn't here to be sworn. We initially.
Sir, do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Brian, I know that You got your couple minutes.
Yeah,
Did you have a chance to hear most of it?
I apologize for that. It's finals day, so I just left Drexel. We had our finals this afternoon, and I had to scurry down here.
Did you have a chance to listen to most of Mr. Cate's testimony?
I did,
Okay. And do you agree with the items that he placed on the record?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Now, for purposes of clarity, because I know it was a question that came up in the review letter, can you confirm the number of guest rooms that are located within the Southern Mansion right now?
Yeah, it's a total of 23 with one owner's unit and one conference room for a total of 25 rooms.
So, Mr. Ellis, I think that was in the application, I believe bedrooms, we listed 25. We were collectively viewing both the 23 guest rooms, the conference room, and the owner's quarters,
So the conference room is what's causing the,
the discrepancy.
okay.
Yes.
Right.
How big is the conference room?
Don't know the answer.
It's a similar size to a bedroom, but it is utilized for conference purposes.
It's not like you,
It's not.
No.
No, it's not on a large
And-
scale. It probably seats about 6 people maximum.
Yeah, and it was approved through some of the prior resolutions that were included in the application packet. It was recognized then. And can you confirm, Brian, we're not looking to add any additional guest rooms to this
No,
application?
no,
right?
we're not changing any of the existing configuration of the building.
Any exterior renovations aside from the parking and lighting proposed?
No, not at all.
All right. So let's then focus on the inside, right? Because that's, you created or drafted the floor plans and layout that was submitted with this application. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you go over that proposed layout for the board's benefit?
What we did was do a plan layout of the seating as proposed in the parlor and first floor porch area and the lower level basement area, which shows 50 seats, 32 seats on the veranda and 36 within the side porch, enclosed porch area. There was a discrepancy, I believe, of 2 seats, and I think that had to do with the application called for 120, and graphically, we had eliminated graphically 2 seats at our bar in the lower level, so that was the discrepancy between 118 and 120.
So can you clarify for the board the amount of spaces that or seats that we're seeking to have approved? Is it 120 seats?
It's 120 seats, correct.
And Mr. Hurlis, we will revise any compliance plan if approved tonight to show those 2 extra seats at the edges of the bar.
So there's one seat on each end of the bar.
Correct.
Correct.
Got it.
Brian, in terms of the proposal, right? So we know that this building presently exists as a tourist guest house.
Correct. Correct.
We're proposing a new use, right? Through restaurant and alcoholic service establishment. Is that right?
That is correct, right.
Is it your professional opinion, knowing the layout of this building, the space that is available and what you're showing, is this site particularly suited? And is there enough space in this location to accommodate this expansion?
Yeah, absolutely there is.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you view, in the event that this were approved, do you see any detriment that could befall the neighborhood in particular, but also just the public good in general?
No, I don't see any detriment to any of that, what we're proposing this evening at all.
And that's
No.
based on your testimony that there's sufficient space, uses like this, would you agree? they
Yeah,
exist
sufficient
on site?
space, the spaces are safe, protected properly, we have egress as required, and in fact, we have excess egress, so we don't have a life safety issue. So it's perfectly within the bounds for the use.
Okay. And Brian, I asked Paul the same question. You went over a couple of the general review comments and discrepancies between the plan and what we're showing. Do you have any objection to any of the other conditions as conditions of approval of this application?
No,
All right.
No.
Brian, I know that you're looking at, we received a letter from the City of Cape May Fire Department related to the application, right?
correct.
And that letter called for, I believe, a recommendation of approval with some items to be provided if necessary, correct?
Correct.
Can you go over those and whether or not you believe they are required or needed?
There was a comment made about a detailed plan for fire suppression, detection, et cetera, as well as a kitchen hood. Now, sprinkler system has been in place for over 25 years, as is the hood. It's fully inspected, licensed, and in operational order. So it's currently been reviewed and certified.
So it's there.
It's there and existing.
And I believe they indicated, and this was an if necessary comment, but they asked for an egress plan if necessary. Do you
Right.
believe one is necessary?
Yeah, if necessary, we'd be willing to provide an egress plan that shows the proposed life safety egress, travel distances, et cetera. as an overlay to our plan.
And in terms of an egress plan, do you see any life safety issues with the amount of egress and locations of egress points as proposed?
No, as I said before, because of the number of people, size of the hallways, and obviously the most important is that it is a fully sprinklered facility, there are no life safety issues here that I'm concerned with.
Okay. Now, Brian, you have a lot of experience with historic preservation applications. Would that be accurate to state?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. In terms of, one of the purposes of zoning that Mr. Cates indicated earlier was the historic nature, right, of not only this property, but the preservation of the property and opening it up to members of the general public, right?
Right, correct.
Can you speak to that? Do you agree with that position?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, one of the basic premises of historic preservation, and let me be clear, my former partners were the people who put Cape May on the historic register. So I'm very familiar with that, I've been dealing with historic structures through my entire career, from College Hall, Logan Hall, Furnace Library, and Penn's campus, numerous churches in New York and Philadelphia, et cetera, and other sorts of like 17th and 18th century structures and their restoration and preservation. And the premise of historic preservation is to make these buildings viable and available to the general public. So that what we're asking, the way I see it, what we're asking here tonight is we are making this building more accessible to the general public so more people can utilize it and appreciate the building and obviously participate in its preservation as a result.
Okay. Brian, anything else you'd like to add at this point in time before we turn it over to Barb?
I think that covers the comments and the issues that as I saw them.
Okay. Madam Chair, just a few questions of Ms. Wild.
Before you ask, I just have a quick question.
That's up to you, sure.
I think it's for Rich before you go with her. The license is in, I guess I just need clarification before I start. The license is in Hamilton Wild.
It's not in Hamilton Wild, it's in an entity that she is a member of, but that is accurate to state.
I'm sorry,
Hamilton Wild is not the license holder. There is an entity in which she is the member of that is the license holder in the premise.
okay, because I was just going by what the city gave the license, and that's why I wanted clarification. It says Hamilton Wild be the sole member in interest of the license.
Correct.
Barbara Wild has no ownership or interest in the entity to be licensed, nor is she an officer, director, shareholder. So,
You're all going to have to go slower for me. You just need to know what you're talking about. I don't. So just go a little slower. And I don't understand, is this a standing question? Like, are they allowed to make this application?
well, are we approving the license to be putting there? Okay, we are approving the license.
Well, no, wait.
You're not, the
Not-
license is
okay.
already there.
Right.
And you wouldn't have jurisdiction
I'm
for the
confused about who
license.
she's asking, who's going to answer. You're going to answer, I'll let her ask you. I don't care, but.
I'm
Well,
happy to, I'm ready to answer this.
Yeah, I didn't know who had the answers. That's why I wasn't sure.
All
who
right,
to
I'll
ask.
listen to your colloquy and then if.
So my,
Mr. King, microphone, please.
sure. The license is held in the name of New Jersey Farmers Cooperative Group LLC. This was placed at the property back in 2022 through approval of City Council. And you're looking at exactly what I'm looking at, which lays into who the members of that entity are and whether, exactly who is involved in that entity and who is not, who's allowed to be and who's not
Right,
allowed to be.
right, yeah.
You're correct. Hamilton Wild is the sole member of the license holder. That license is situated at this property pursuant to a lease agreement that was approved by the city of Cape May before they allowed it to be sited there. Nothing is changing in that from that perspective.
Okay,
So that entity, in my opinion, wouldn't have any standing to bring this application because they don't own the property. Rather, they just hold the license that is situated there. What I believe we need to do in the event that we're successful before this body through having the applicant ask for this use variance would be to go to City Council because we are going to, at that point, need to amend some of these special restrictions placed around this license. But I don't think we get to there unless we get through here first. And that's the reason that we're before you asking for the relief we are.
Okay, that's all very complicated. Who owns the property?
The Bray Family Partnership, of which Ms. Wild is a member.
Then that's our applicant. They own the
Correct,
property.
correct.
And they're getting permission for use in their property, and then someone will decide who's using it. I mean,
okay.
but that's
I agree with that.
the real estate. We're making a zoning decision, so we're not making a licensing decision. So
Okay.
to me, the person who owns the property makes the application. And by the way, people who don't own property can make the applications. I'm not sure a tenant isn't, I think a tenant's allowed to make a zoning application. I think a contract purchaser is allowed to make a zoning application.
I would agree with that. They could.
So they're an owner, they're making the application. If it turns out that there's an issue about who can operate there, that'll be dealt with by council. But we're making a zoning decision tonight. So
Okay.
the landowner is the appropriate applicant.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
both of you.
Barbara,
Yes.
if I can you confirm that you are a member of the applicant and the Bray Family Partnership?
Yes.
You have an interest in that entity?
Really, more than anything else, I'm kind of a steward of the property.
You're going to have to speak a little closer to the mic.
I said yes. Actually, I'm really more of a steward of the property, I would say.
How long has the Bray Family Partnership owned this property?
Since 1994.
Okay. And in that time, can you go over some of the renovation that's been required of you and
Oh,
the
my
partnership?
God. The place was absolutely dilapidated when we arrived there. It was not mortgageable. It was in horrible shape, and it probably could have fallen apart. I was in my 20s then. We had to actually jack up the entire building because it had powder post beetle damage. We had to sister every single joist, some of which were 50 feet long and 3 feet wide. And this was basically, say, 10 to 12, 20-year-olds and a few people that were older. We worked 20-plus hours round the clock. We did everything. We set up a millwork on the property. We milled our own wood. We tongue and grooved our own flooring. We did everything. We did all the research. We went to New Jersey Trust. We did everything to the standards and over and above. The slate roof, the windows are perfect. The mullions are perfect. Everything is done historically accurately. I can say very respectfully to you all, that is arguably, if not the most, one of the best historic reservations ever done in this area. And I'm very proud of that. We work really hard, and I've kind of been focused elsewhere, and I am really focusing back on this again, and I'm about to restore it completely over again. It never ends. It's like when you start one side and you're done that, you end up doing the other. It never stops. The costs are ungodly. The work is unbelievable. It's a huge property. I'm guessing that probably most of you have never been in there. It is absolutely stunning. It has, several foot crown molding on 15-foot ceilings. It has everything is state. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Nobody has it. I've been in all the buildings down here. It is one of a kind. It is very special. And when we met with the New Jersey Trust, the executive director said to me, "Oh my God, Barbara, this could be. It is really museum quality. It is so over and above." She said, "But we want it open to the public. We want the public to understand why historic preservation is so incredibly important and why their taxpayers' dollars go to it." Unfortunately now, there's a few people in a few rooms who can go in there. And then, of course, when we have weddings and events, we're allowed to do that. Now, the way it's been originally set up, they said 4 people per room. So you could have 24, 23 times 4. And then you have another 90-some people on top of that at an event. But the numbers we're talking about aren't different at all. But what we're doing is allowing people to come in and enjoy and appreciate. There's nothing like this in town. It's absolutely stunning. And it's a tremendous amount of work. But as a steward, that's what I do. And you never really own a property like this. It's important. And then you want to make sure it's, maintained in perpetuity. And to do that, you need an income source. This is not cheap. You're looking at $50,000 plus in taxes. You're looking $40,000 in water bills. And that's just a start. And it goes over and over and over. And it's really, really important. And we went over everything. This is what it needs. This is what will make it work. And it's already being done in multiple other places all over Cape May. But we are in the very unusual position. We have all this land. We have all this buffer zone. We have the ability to do all these things and not bother anybody else.
Barbara, operationally,
Yes.
I know we just went over the fact that there's an existing license in place with some conditions on it, and if we're successful tonight, we'll need to discuss that with City Council. But for the benefit of the board, so they can hear from you, what, in terms of closing times, what's the closing time, the latest closing time that you would propose for this bar and alcoholic beverage establishment and restaurant, if approved?
Maybe 11. There seems to be some false information spreading around that I want to do a nightclub or something late, and we're not looking to do that at all. Not at all. I mean, in reality, what's changes since COVID? People are eating earlier. It used to be you go out in Cape May, you'd eat at 7:30, 8:30, 9. It's earlier and earlier. People are eating at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. They're done by 8 o'clock, 8:30. We're not looking to do anything late. We're not looking to do anything noisy. We're not looking to do anything like that at all. We want them to come there, enjoy it. If they want to get sloppy, go somewhere else. We don't want it there.
And Barbara, in terms of deliveries, obviously you're able to provide food and drinks to your registered guests at this point in time. So you
Correct.
accept deliveries already now.
And that's also events, which
Events as
are
well.
over and above. Correct.
So how do you accept deliveries right now? Can you go over for the board how
We
deliveries are made?
we, unlike 99% of the restaurants and alcohol serving places in Cape May, have a loading area. People can pull in off the street, so we do not block the traffic, unlike 90% of the other places in town. We can unload quietly, nicely, and neatly on site, and that's what we do, and we will continue to do.
So we're not proposing any change to the deliveries? How
No,
they're made?
not at all.
Okay.
Where is that loading area?
It's off of Jefferson to the right. I mean, if they come off of Washington, we ask them not to generally, but they can. They could come off of Washington. They can come off of Jefferson. Jefferson has the red stone. The impact of a large vehicle on brick is heavier. So we prefer them to go on the stone because you can replace that every year. And, it doesn't damage the brick.
So they're utilizing the existing parking area?
Well, it's not the parking. There's a driveway. They pull in, they unload, they pull out.
They're in the drive aisle of the existing?
Correct.
Understood.
And those deliveries, I anticipate, you can correct me if I'm, they're usually made probably either very early in the mornings?
Not early that it's going to bother anybody, no.
Right.
It's usually, during the daytime. We have it now. We manage it very well. We will continue to manage it very well.
Okay. Barbara, you answered a lot of my questions without me even needing to ask you. So
All right.
anything else you want to add right now? We'll
No,
turn it over.
it's just, I want to open it. I want it to get people in there. I want to get people to enjoy it and really appreciate it. It's a very special, special building and special in Cape May.
Madam Chair, that's all we have at this time. Any questions?
I have a question. So basically what you're doing is you're asking for a variance to turn a tourist guest house into a hotel?
Well, no, it's going to I don't believe we're changing the definition, but we're adding a use that would typically be accessory to a hotel. Yes, I think if that's what you're getting at, you're correct, and that we are doing that.
As an aside, if you don't mind me answering, the building was mercantiled as a hotel license for more than 6 years when Frank Corrado was the solicitor.
It is now identified as a tourist guest house on the mercantile license.
Because they're not allowed to have a hotel in the R2 district, is that right, correct?
Well, in the RS district,
RS
has not a
district,
permitted
yeah,
use.
yeah.
That's right.
There's never been approval for it as a hotel?
No,
No board approval?
No board approval
land
for
use.
that use. That's
Okay.
correct.
That issue was previously directly before this board.
It was.
And the board said that it was a guest house, they applied for a guest house, and they can't backdoor a restaurant and bar as an accessory to a hotel because they didn't get approval as a hotel, they got approved as a guest house. So they have respected that decision. That's not an issue before us, as far as I know. They are saying they know that they need a D1 use variance to do what they want to do. So to me, that's kind of a red herring. They're asking to do the thing they want to do. So I don't want to get too caught up in the nomenclature. They agree they're not allowed to do what they want to do, but they're asking us to let them do it.
That's right.
I have a question about, you had 44 existing parking spots. What happened to the 4 spots that were down to 40, that we went less, but yet you're saying you're putting in a parking lot?
So there's currently 14 spaces in front of the front facade of the building in that existing grass block parking area, which was approved as part of a previous application.
Paul, we should just highlight, so the reason that we don't see them, why is it that you can't see these parking spaces if you drive by or walk?
So they are grass block pavers, and the grass has grown up so tall, they're actually not currently visible, but they were installed, they were approved, but there was 14 spaces here, but when we moved to the back of behind the front building line, we were only able to provide 10. So that's where we're losing 14 and gaining 10.
And Paul, the reason that we did that, right, that was a recommendation of the HPC, is that right?
That's correct. We had originally proposed keeping all 14 of these and adding 8, and they were adamantly opposed at us keeping parking in front of that building. Even though this parking is already approved, they did not want to see it utilized. It's currently overflow parking, and with the existing parking on the site, it's rarely, if ever, needed, and therefore you almost never see cars there except for maybe the occasional special
But you're
event.
increasing to a bar and a restaurant, so there would probably be overflow parking at this.
Well, and that's what we do anticipate, this new parking being used, and that's why the HPC was adamant that we push it back behind that front building facade.
If I could just ask a clarification question. Paul, isn't it true that those 14 spaces, that grasscrete, that drivable surface still is there?
Yes,
We're just
that-
not calling them parking spaces.
Correct, that area
That
is-
exists. So we're just not allowed to use them.
So just for clarity to the board, what we had agreed to and is contained in the conceptual approval issued by the HPC was that as a condition to getting through their review process and getting a conceptual approval, what we had agreed to do was, if they were acceptable of the 10 spaces that were pushed equal to or behind the front facade of the building, we would agree to vacate the use of the ability to use the 14 in front.
Let me just explain this, because we get this all the time, and I just want to go over it in a way that, at least for me, is easier to understand. When you're deciding about parking on a historic structure, you're weighing two things: the desire for a bunch of parking against the impact of having a bunch of cars around the historic structure, particularly in the front. That's the analysis that you're weighing. Is it worth it to have all these spaces, to have a bunch of cars parked in front of the building? This is a huge property. They could park cars all over it. And in a regular world with non-historic building, you could fill that whole front thing with parking and it would look like Acme. Okay, you'd have all the parking you want. But that's not what the HPC said. The HPC, which are the ones that are trained and designated to do our historic analysis, they've done that weighing, and they've said, we think it's worth losing 4 spaces to remove this parking from the very front of the building along Washington and to tuck it in this little L-shaped area, put planters around it so you don't see it. And yes, you have 4 less parking spaces, but they think that's a better, that's worth it from a historic preservation perspective. You don't have to agree with them, but that's why they're here, is to do that
Yeah,
historic
I just
stuff,
didn't know
so.
where the 4 spaces.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, I'm not
just
explaining to
visit-
you, that's not,
Yeah.
you know, it's not too that's the gist of it. So if you were to say to them, hey, we've done that weighing and we really want you to put compliant parking across the front of this property, they'll do it.
We were proposing it originally.
You know, they'll do it, but that's the thing. So that's the parking variance analysis in a nutshell.
And then, just for clarification, how many spaces are you are required to have? Because I think I heard added 2 more spots, seats, and then
So-
everything. So, how many spots are required?
Mr. Hurls' review letter is accurate.
The calculation in my review letter
Is correct.
reflects the 120 seats, which includes the 2 that were omitted from the floor plan.
Okay, that's what was.
So it was the more conservative outlook.
So the 69 spots
So
is correct.
69 are required, where 44 exist, where 40 are proposed.
Then I also have another question.
Incidentally, Machine, not just to you, I'm good, you can say what you want to say, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This wasn't really discussed much, but I expected it to be. Maybe
I
you
have
want to have a
something
talk about it a
to come
bit?
with Mr. Kreitz, yeah.
Sometimes we have these overlap things where we list each use individually and put the parking in for it. But isn't it true that you anticipate that some of your guests are still going to use the bar and restaurant, so that maybe there aren't going to be 24 cars for the rooms and 30 cars for the,
Paul, do you want to weigh in on that as a planner?
Yeah, and I think that, we will see that overlap, and that is the intent of the application, is that this will not only bring outside public in, but it'll better serve the existing clientele.
So one other thing to add too, Paul. When you look at off-site parking locations within the city of Cape May, are you aware of any that are in fairly close proximity to this property that could presumably be used by patrons should they decide to drive?
Yeah,
and
so
walk here?
the municipal lot behind us is a half a block from the proposed restaurant. So patrons could pull in here, use the Park Mobile, pay for parking, and then walk the half a block. And then we're also weighing the option of valet parking on the Sturdy Savings Bank site.
Just a clarification, this lot isn't available during the week.
During the school year. We're not talking about this lot, the lot at the school.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's
He
okay.
said the lot here.
I think both of them are roughly located within the same.
But yeah, but this
Principal
lot, because of like boards, that's why
Yes.
it's not allowed to park during the week.
Yep.
there. My other question is, Ms. Wilds mentioned tours. So how often are tours given?
Well, it depends on the time of year. More at this point, I think, well, I don't even know if they're done daily, but usually they were done daily. And
Daily,
most-
you have tours.
And honestly, most people do not drive, they walk.
Well, my question is, does that come into parking availability if they're having tours that require parking spots?
I don't believe so. I don't think so.
Do you guarantee your people that are staying at the guest house portion a parking spot? Is that part of their?
We generally guarantee them one. Sometimes they don't even use it. Sometimes they show up with an Uber. Sometimes they show up in a jitney. We try to. It's not actually written anywhere that they get one, but we usually
So
put.
it's not delineated in it?
They're all still. Every parking space is delineated. Yes.
But it would, and I think the reason for that is we haven't had an additional use as of now, so I don't think that's ever an issue.
Well, we don't even have problems when we have weddings or large functions or events. We're in an interesting place. When you go south from the Southern Mansion, you're dealing with the Walking Mall, Cape May Mall. Then you have parking issues. When you go to the beach, you have parking issues. When you go from the Southern Mansion and north, you really don't. You just don't. I mean, you may have to drive around a little bit, but there's usually parking places.
But there's no parking issues now because there's no bar or restaurant.
No, here we go.
What I'm saying is that even when we have large events, we don't have parking problems.
But I would think some people would be staying there already though, right?
Generally, yes.
Can I ask some questions about the general layout?
Mm-hmm.
On A11? The kitchen, is that where the kitchen is right now? And that kitchen serves all your guests now? The space where you're going to have the 50 seats, what is in there? Is that a dining room now?
Yes, it has.
That's where people, that's where, and this is all in the basement?
Correct.
The,
Well, we should clarify. There are no tables in that area right now.
Not right now, no.
Right. So we're proposing tables on the floor plan. It exists as an open space right now in that area.
where do people eat now?
Right now, well, sometimes they eat downstairs. Sometimes they eat in the South Wing solarium. Sometimes they eat in the main solarium, which surrounds the main part of the house. It's all glass enclosed. And sometimes they eat in the small ballroom upstairs.
Um,
And sometimes they eat outside on the decks,
On the what?
on the porches.
You're going to have serving food and alcohol outside? That's like a whole nother.
I wasn't talking about that at all. You just asked where they eat now.
But as proposed through
You're
the
saying that you eat outside.
I'm saying
Some people do.
Some people take a picnic and sit outside.
On this other picture here, the kitchen has to bring food upstairs,
Yes.
and then they would bring it through it. What is this space here? If that makes, it's just a,
That's an extension of the basement. It just wasn't shown, but there's basically that staircase
see, I'm not familiar with the property really.
that staircase here is basically used for service.
So they would
the
go up
kitchen
these
come up
stairs-
these stairs and then serve these areas here.
So they would go
by
through
coming
this
to a hall.
space. So is this a separate building?
No. no,
So
it's
they'd
part
have
of
to,
the same building.
so they would go through, what is that area?
Basically the front hall.
Front hall? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the parlor that you call it, and then there's the porch.
Correct.
And there's an outdoor seating area too?
Not in what we're showing here. What we're showing is the parlor and the enclosed porch. That's where we're having our seating. Anything out beyond that is really, as Barbara said, it's kind of, people are sitting outside, just having a
Will-
meal or whatever.
Will the bar and restaurant use be restricted to inside only?
That's the intent, that what you're seeing here is all within enclosed space.
That certainly should be a condition of any approval that the board grant.
Right.
On this hallway, is it an elevator downstairs someplace?
Yeah, there is a
Oh,
service
sorry.
elevator.
Can I
to
just
the
interrupt real
basement.
quick?
No, there's not.
Someone said condition of approval. I'm going to make sure.
So I asked,
that's gonna
I
be-
asked the question whether the bar restaurant use would be restricted to only the inside, and they answered yes. And I recommended that that be a condition of approval should the board grant that.
Yeah, that was one of my questions I was saving to make the board ask all their questions. You're certain that because in my experience, when I've walked by there, there's tables outside with people doing stuff outside for weddings and events and all that outside. And I'm just trying to figure out if this is a spill outside kind of bar restaurant thing.
No, we would agree as a condition that it all remains inside as proposed on the floor plans.
All right, let's just talk about what it all means. I just don't want to get anybody in trouble. Are you still going to have events there as well?
Yes.
Okay, so when you have a liquor license and you're going to have an event and you're going to have a wedding, you're not going to do weddings outside anymore? There's going to be no liquor served outside for weddings?
Well, right now, weddings do occur outside.
Okay, so if I write down as a condition of approval that the bar restaurant will only occur indoors, and then you have an event and someone wants to be in your beautiful yard and have their cocktail hour out there, and you set up the bar out in the front lawn, the neighbor's going to come in and say, you're violating the condition of approval. So you kind of got to decide where you're using this and not using it.
What we talked was the seating. We're not proposing seating outside
Okay?
because we're not showing any on the plan. So if we're not, what's shown on the plan is all interior seating, right? in the
What about
basement.
barring?
Serving of a drink? So if you're
Yeah.
going to stand with a drink outside? I think that occurs now, and I don't think that exacerbates
No,
or
it
otherwise
occurs now.
violates the
mean-
condition of that
It
plan.
occurs now that guests might be outside for events. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
Because if I write down here that the bar restaurant will only be indoors, and then your guests are going to the bar, getting a drink, and then sitting out in the lawn, when the neighbors come and say, hey, this bar is serving liquor that's being consumed on the front porch or in the front yard, and then you're going to be violating your condition. I just write these things down, so.
What we were proposing is that all the seating occur inside of the building as shown on the architectural plan submitted with the application. If there is beverage service during special events outside, where there is not seating involved, but rather just the service of drinks, we're not proposing to eliminate that. We'd wish for that to continue.
Okay, so, and I just want to get my resolution right, win or lose, okay? I don't have a personal opinion on whether it should be inside or outside. I don't personally care. But I'm at Congress Hall,
Yeah?
okay? And Congress Hall, on a nice day, there's more liquor outside than inside,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
That's what I think your neighbors are back there nodding their heads about. They're trying to figure out if this is going to be the Congress Hall backyard next door to them. So, and that's a legitimate
To it.
question that I want to resolve now. So we're not resolving it with the police at 10 o'clock at night and who's on the lawn and all that. So,
We don't make noise now. I understand there's concern, and respectfully, I am more than happy to listen to everybody's concerned and if possible, ameliorate them. Right now, and for the last 30 years, we have done weddings outside, and there has been liquor served outside since we've had a liquor license. And before we had a liquor license, if they would bring liquor in, they had their own liquor.
And drank it outside.
Correct. And inside.
so for wedding
years.
events, there may be liquor consumed outside.
I'm not going to say
That's
that.
okay.
Yeah.
If the answer is, I just want to,
Correct.
your job
Yes,
is to
sir.
tell us what you want to do, and my job is to write down what it is that the board decides you can do. That's all I'm doing. I'm not a decider. But right now, if I had just written that condition, then I'm telling you, it would have been a problem when you're outside with liquor, because that's the bar serving outside, and that will get everyone upset. If that's what you're going to do, then say that.
Yep.
Maybe the
Yes.
board will agree that, well, it's K-Bay, we do stuff outside, that's life, and that's how it goes. So I just want to write it down. So tell us what you're going to do.
I think she just did.
Yes.
So they're going to, during weddings and special events, they are still going to continue to serve alcoholic beverages outside of the building. That is still the intention.
Is that what the license, your liquor license will cover you to serve beverages outside?
It's part of the license premise, yes, on the
Yes.
property, yes.
Would the bar and restaurant close down to the public when there's a private event?
I'm so sorry. I couldn't understand you.
The bar restaurant,
Would the bar and restaurant close down to the public when there's a private event?
will you close the proposed bar restaurant that we're asking for is going to be open to the general public? She's
Yes.
asking, will you close that bar restaurant
If
if
there's
there
an
is a
event?
private event?
Yes.
Okay?
Is there, because you said you have tables outside now, and you said there's just going to be alcohol, there's going to be no food served out at the tables outside? Do we count that as any kind of seating, if there's seats outside? Because it's just like a bar, right? If you sit at one of the tables outside, is that considered a seat?
what I understood the testimony to just be is that you will not have the bar and restaurant operating at the same time as a special event.
Correct.
But there's currently seats outside now, outside the patio? Is that where they're going to be serving, are there people going to be out there
We're going
drinking?
to get into outdoor seating. That's a whole nother question. I don't even know if they count as seats anymore. Craig will have to answer that question. It's
What's that?
Outdoor seating.
Outdoor seats, are they seats?
If they're licensed through the outdoor seating ordinance, they do not count as against your parking spaces. They are credited. There's no obligation to provide parking for outdoor seating through that license.
How many seats do you currently have that, I know it's not counted towards your parking, but I guess I'm looking to see, like, if people were going to be coming, how many more are there outside? It's like a 50, 100, I don't know.
Again, usually that's used when there's a special event.
But how many seats are there if you were to?
It would just depend on the event. I mean, how many people are at the event?
You don't normally have seats outside?
I mean, on the front porch, there's chaise lounges, there's tables, just like on every other porch. Yeah. And on the solarium, which is an enclosed porch, there's tables now, and they're actually marked on the site plan.
They're what? I'm sorry.
The tables on the solarium are marked on the site plan.
So those, Brian, are what you show there,
Right,
right? So
correct.
we're accounting for those already.
Correct.
This is going to sound like a silly question. Where is the kitchen fan located?
The kitchen?
The kitchen fan.
Fan.
On the back roof.
It's on the roof?
Yeah.
Because your kitchen will now do triple what it's going to be doing, right? You're doing 20 dinners, you're going to do 200 a night?
When we have events, we can do that, and it's not a problem
Or you're
whatsoever.
going to do this every night during the season? This is going to change.
Would it
The reason
affect
I'm
the
saying is
kitchen?
I live close
Okay.
to a hotel restaurant, and I can tell you what time breakfast is served, and I can tell you what time they close their dinner, their dinner service by their kitchen fan, which is loud, and there's no avoiding it. It's a kitchen fan on a kitchen.
I don't find our kitchen fan that loud, but
You don't live behind your place either. though.
where do you live?
You don't live behind you. You don't live behind your place, do you?
No, but I certainly stood there. I've never found it loud, but
My question is, how often do you have trash pickup, and where is it? Is it on Corgi Street?
no, it's actually, they pull onto our lot and they pick it up right there.
Can you show
Right.
this one?
And, okay, I did see that. And how often, right now?
It depends. Every time is different depending on what's going on.
I'd like to
Sometimes,
hear from the neighbors on Jefferson and Corgi as what kind of noise that they hear. And if you're going to have a restaurant for 120 people, we're going to have, how many more pickups a week? Just living here in Cape May and here, I know exactly when our trash collection and our recyclable comes, and it's very noisy, early in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And is it really bothering the neighbors? That's what I worry about.
So just to clarify, it's right here in the center of the parking lot. If it backs up the Corgi, and then the pickup is actually done through the parking lot.
But that trash truck and garbage truck has to go down Jefferson Street to get to that, to turn into the lot.
Correct.
What time approximately would you expect the restaurant to open?
the restaurant,
The new restaurant?
I honestly do not think that we're probably going to seat later than 8:30 or 9 at the max. Nobody eats later than that anymore.
Okay, so just for dinner.
Yeah.
So are you proposing anything other than dinner, lunch?
Maybe
Well, that's,
lunch. So then we're looking at maybe 11:30, 12 to whatever. Right now, we
it's an afternoon eating.
right now we do breakfast there too.
Okay, I'm just thinking in terms of parking use, because I know you said you want it to be like kind of a garden open area, so you don't lose open space.
Can I just have clarification? Did you say there's breakfast served now? Would that just be open for the guests, the breakfast?
Yes.
Right now, it's just open to the guests.
And then you're thinking lunch and dinner?
I'm thinking yes.
All right. The garbage and the kitchen fan are important issues, no doubt. But what I'm really trying to figure out is where this use is going to take place. It's a use variance.
Yes.
The testimony initially was that the use is going to take place all in the interior. The testimony has kind of changed, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I don't
Please don't
know
read
that
it
it
that
has.
way. I just want to write down what it is you're seeking to do And then if it's approved, there's a clear thing what we've approved. And it sounds to me, it might not be bad, but that it's going to be mostly indoors, the formal seating and restaurant activity is indoors, the bar is indoors. For special events, as there is now, that may also occur outdoors. The last remaining item for me is the bar. Is the bar serving drinks to be consumed outdoors?
And this is,
And if the answer is yes, then that's okay, but I mean, the reality is, if you buy a drink in the Brown Room, you can walk outside and sit on the lounges in the back. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what it is so everybody knows.
It's designed now for like restaurant guests because they'll be eating inside. They'd probably stay inside. For an event, we've always had it available outside.
so that's,
But I understand this, but you need to be a little more forward-looking in your business plan. What I'm trying to understand is, because I want to write it down,
I can
is
provide.
the bar providing drinks that could be consumed outside of the building? And if the answer is yes, then say yes. If the answer is no, then say no, but I'm going to write down one of those two things.
So what Ms. Wild just said and what we can write down. For bar, restaurant use by the general public that are consuming and eating inside, that will all take place inside the building, not to be served outside. Special events, if they
Hold
occur,
on, don't trick me. Not to
I'm
be
not trying to
served outside. I don't
Well,
care where it's served.
not to
I
be
wanna
taken
know if
outside,
they're
all to be
serving
consumed
and
inside.
People are going to be carrying drinks and hanging out outside. If that's what you're envisioning happening, then just say it.
Consumed inside. General public use, consumed inside. Special events, as they occur right now and as was testified to, are intended to continue to be able to be served and consumed on the exterior of the premises.
As well as sometimes they're just inside.
But that's fine, but exterior for the special
What,
events.
I'm curious, based on what was just said, what's to prevent someone from the public coming into the restaurant? They're not there for dinner. Are they able to come to the bar just for a drink? What prevents them from taking the drink outside?
We're not really envisioning people coming and using it as a bar. We're kind of looking at it as a restaurant with alcohol service.
I understand that. But thinking again about forward looking at how the business evolves, there's nothing that says someone can't do that. And if that's one of the questions that exists, I'm wondering, how does one plan for that appropriately?
It's going to be staffed. Staff's going to prevent it from happening. It's not going to be an unstaffed location.
Somebody comes in, they sit down at the bar, they get a drink, and they say, it's a beautiful night, it's summer, it's great, it's cool. I'm going to go outside with my drink. You going to stop them?
Yes, we're going to need to stop them.
Okay.
Because that's a condition that we're agreeing to this evening. So yes, we would have to do that.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
all I was looking for clarity on.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Because we all live here. We watch, you go into Cape May, they serve inside at the bar, people sit outside. Congress Hall, they serve liquor inside, they drink it outside.
Right.
Because this is a D1 variance and it's a use variance in a residential neighborhood,
Yep.
it's fair question for the public to know if it's going to happen, spill outside, and you're saying, no, it's going to be, your alcohol is to be consumed inside, except for special events like you did previously. They will be served and consumed outside special events as you've done in the past. But this bar restaurant that's being approved is an interior use only. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you.
Everybody understand that? You don't have to agree with it, we got that, okay.
Can I ask what slate parking delineation is?
So, and again, that was worked out with the HPC, but the intent is around the perimeter of that parking, we're gonna have 2-foot wide red brick. And instead of like a painted white line, there's gonna be a gray slate brick long-wise that would delineate those spaces.
So that'll just be in the parking lot?
It's just in the parking lot. So it'll,
It's flush with the parking surface.
correct. And, we looked at parking blocks, we looked at stripes, and they just felt that that was the most natural, most consistent with the historic nature of the site
And it's aesthetically pleasing.
and aesthetically pleasing. Yeah.
And you said there's an elevator on that down there?
No.
No,
There's no elevator.
You have no elevator?
no.
You have no elevator to get down to a restaurant?
The people get a workout. They get to carry it.
What if you're in a wheelchair?
You're going to be dining upstairs, unfortunately. So we're providing half of our service upstairs and half of it downstairs. So we do have equal opportunity and availability.
Actually, more seats upstairs than down.
Right, correct.
where will the actual entrance be for outside patrons to come in? Which end?
Well, there's the front door, and then we could, depending on the season and what's going on, also use the side door off the solarium,
Which is where on this,
facing towards the post office.
this entrance here?
Right, right.
And how do you get to that from the property? Come around the front of the building?
You just walk along the brick path.
Yeah, there's a brick path along that wing of the building.
You don't have to go behind the building.
No.
Okay, we're going to have Craig's report, and then we can have.
Are you guys done with your testimony?
At this time, yes. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I would like to summarize my memorandum dated May 7th, 2026 for this application at 720 Washington Street. As the applicant indicated, it is located within the RS Residential Seasonal District. The applicant is seeking use variance approval along with other C variances, as well as preliminary and final site plan for this change of use. It's an existing tourist guest house, and they're proposing to add to that use a bar and restaurant that will be open separately from the tourist guest house to the public. I'll move on to my completeness review on page 2 of 9. I believe that item 12 has been provided, the certified list. We have gotten an updated list. Yes, okay. They've requested waivers from providing topography. And that was the off-site topography that's required, so we supported a waiver of that request. The utility layouts, they requested a waiver from. There was no change to the existing utilities, so we supported that waiver. Under the preliminary site plan approval checklist, item 3V, which requires an environmental impact statement, I didn't think that that was necessary because the site is already developed. There's no sensitive lands there, so I supported that waiver. A traffic impact report under letter W. Our traffic impact report requirements deal with not parking demand, but whether the roads adjacent to the site are adequate to handle the traffic from them. In this case, Washington, Jefferson, and Corgi are all of adequate width and can support traffic that would be similar to this use. So therefore, I supported a waiver from that. Really, I think your decision-making is more based on their testimony and the impacts of the deficiency of parking on the neighborhood. That wouldn't show in this report, so therefore I supported a waiver. And then finally, solid waste and recycling. They did not provide that, but you've heard testimony tonight indicating where it is. I believe a board member raised the possibility that because they have more patrons coming in and out of the site, the frequency of deliveries and pickups from at that solid waste recycling existing facility could be intensified. And based on those recommendations, I did support deeming this application complete. Moving on to the zoning requirements. So once again, this site is located in the RS district. So the RS district, as permitted uses, uses by right, allows for tourist guest houses, which this is an existing. It allows for churches, and it allows for residential dwelling uses, and it runs the whole gamut of our permitted residential uses: attached dwellings, multifamily dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, single-family dwellings, and two-family detached dwelling. So one of the things that you're going to weigh tonight in granting a use variance is to whether this use is compatible with those existing uses and the surrounding uses of this site. So on page 4 of 9, I just went through the tourist guest houses. So the accessory uses to a tourist guest house allows for the service of meals limited to registered guests. In this case, they are looking to expand that and allow that to be open to the general public, therefore turning it into a restaurant and bar. So that deals with the use variance. With regards to the parking, we've heard testimony from the applicant. On page 5 of 9 in the zoning table, you can see the breakdown of the parking spaces that are required by the code. There are 24 spaces that are required for the 24 sleeping rooms. There is 1 space per employee, and they've indicated there's 15 employees for this establishment. And the bar and restaurant requires 1 space for every 4 seat, and there's 120 seats, so that totals 69 spaces. There are existing 44 spaces, and they're cannibalizing, or not cannibalizing, they're not utilizing 14 approved grass paver lawn spaces that are in front of the structure along the Washington Street frontage, and they're proposing 10 new ones that will replace those. So there's a net loss of 4 parking spaces, and you've heard testimony from them indicating that that is the result of the HPC's requirements and requests. There's been some testimony with regards to the overlap of those 3 items that generate the parking obligation for the site, the sleeping rooms. Obviously, guests that are utilizing the guest rooms will be somewhat of the bar and restaurant patrons. I didn't hear anything with regards to your parking for your employees as they currently happen, or is that occurring on site? Are they riding bicycles? You know, that type of thing. Certainly, I don't know whether they're utilizing all of those spaces, but ultimately, 69 spaces are required, 44 exist, and 40 spaces are proposed. The code also has a requirement to provide a paved and curved parking spaces. Those are both variances that they're requesting. The historical context of this property sort of drive that issue as to whether that's appropriate or not. And I think the HPC has found that this grass paver looks more like lawn, can support the parking. I would argue that it can support the parking. We have evidence of that through numerous sites throughout town. So provided that they widen the driveway access at Washington Street to meet the other code requirement, there's 10 foot that's required for 2-way traffic in each direction, so it has to be a minimum of 20 foot wide for that driveway, where it's 16.9 feet wide now, so they have to widen that. I would support those variances for the parking surfaces. So that's the details. There are 4 variances I just indicated, and they are located at the bottom of page 5 of my report. And I just wanted to talk to so the applicant has indicated always when an applicant brings forth a use variance before us, they really emphasize the positive criteria and indicate, the negative criteria is being met. Some of the potential negative impacts that were brought up tonight, noise, whether it's from patrons, whether it's from deliveries, but that's one of the considerations that the board should look at. The frequency of deliveries and loading, that's also, it relates to noise. Parking, obviously the deficiency and obligation, does that impact the neighborhood? One of the questions I had in that discussion from the applicant was valet parking was just sort of thrown in there. We've seen applications, not necessarily in front of the zoning board, but in front of the planning board, in which applicants come to us with a valet parking plan that sort of addresses some of the deficiencies. You kind of just threw it out there. You don't tell us how it operates. The Washington Inn just kind of loads and unloads in the middle of Washington Street. And that's certainly a traffic impact. I'm hoping that if you're going to do valet parking, there should be some type of plan, and it should load and unload on site. So that's something that you should be considering. One of the other issues typically with this use is lighting. I think you've heard testimony from the applicant's engineer with regards to the low-level lighting. It's a historical context that's been approved by the HPC. I don't think, I didn't have a problem with it, but that's another consideration. And I have a question here with the hours of operation. I think you've indicated that all operations for the bar restaurant will cease at 11 o'clock.
That's correct.
Okay. So those are some of the potential negative impacts that could be considered in your weighing of that variance. Move on to page 7 of 9. Under my general review comments, these are typically conditions of approval. Item number 1, I asked them to revise the zoning table. There are some inconsistencies with their parking calculations. I believe the ones that are contained in my report are correct, and they should revise the plan accordingly. Item number 2, they've provided testimony to address the inconsistencies with the
Number of rooms.
the resolutions and the number of rooms. So there are 24 rooms. And that includes 23 guest rooms with an owner's quarters. 3, they address the inconsistency with the seating layout, and all of my calculations are conservative and indicate a total of 120 seats are proposed for the bar and restaurant. So that's the ask for the use. They've indicated that they will provide detailed lot coverage calculations. I don't think they're anywhere close to not being conforming, but we would just like that information to be provided on the plan. Item number 5 deals with the site triangle issue. Because they will be required to widen the driveway, we want to make sure that that driveway is safe and has proper sight lines so that you can egress Washington Street in a safe manner.
Does that take away any parking on Washington?
It does not.
Okay.
Okay. Site triangles, 6, I've just talked about it, but it's the widening of that driveway. 7, they've agreed to comply with our EVSE, which is our electric vehicle supply and service equipment ordinance. That's required of all site plans now in the state of New Jersey. So they have to comply with that. They've already discussed under item number 8, the loading and trash recycling. So we've heard where the loading is. It's in the existing drive aisle on the lot closest to Corgi Street. Can you tell us when typically you get deliveries?
It depends. Usually I would say, probably 10, 11 o'clock.
So it's not going to conflict with your peak time of parking on site?
No.
Okay. Okay, item number 9 is our evaluation of the grading and drainage requirements. So we've just asked them to provide some additional information. So long as they do that, we find that the plan is acceptable. Item 10 is our standard requirement that they have to comply with the minimum stormwater management and grading requirements, and that's both during and after construction. We've asked them to provide a soil erosion and sediment plan that is required in accordance with the code. 12 is the lighting of parking area, and this just summarizes one of the things that I recommend. This review has gone through several iterations. That was one of the first things I saw is you had modern street light type lighting on there. You've now replaced that, and the HPC has evaluated that, so that's a good thing. 13 is our standard condition that we evaluate sidewalk after construction, and you're required to replace any sidewalk in poor condition. 14 is our standard condition that the certificate of occupancy is tied to acceptable inspections. 15 is the requirement to provide performance guarantees and inspection escrows in accordance with the code. 16 is our recommendation to comply with the requirements of all of the other departments. We've talked about the fire department review memo dated 5/19/26. They indicate that the fire suppression and hood are existing, but they are willing to comply and provide the egress plans.
Yes.
Okay? Shade Tree Commission recommended approval indicating that no trees will be moved or impacted, and that is dated 5/21/26. Public Works Department recommended approval with no comments dated 5/26/2026. And we do have a copy of the conceptual approval from the HPC. Once again, should this board grant approval, they will be required to go back to them for final approval. And I think that's it for the reports. Did I miss any? Okay. I thought I heard someone say something. Sorry. 17 is our standard condition. They have to comply with all other necessary state, county, and local approvals. 18 is me rehashing the HPC approval as required. 19 is the compliance with any and all applicable affordable housing requirements. And 20, should the board grant approval, the applicant is required to revise the plans consistent with their approval, indicating all the conditions that we talked about. Hours of operation should be added to the plan. Is there anything else that we talked about? Hours of operation,
Location of beverage service.
right. The loading area should be located on the plan as well. And they're required to submit those for compliance review to the board engineer. That is a summary of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
Okay, are there any questions from the board before we open it up?
I do have a question. It's actually for both you and Mr. King. It's just on how our relationship works with the planning board. It's from the 2003 resolution, and it does say applicant may not open a restaurant to the public without first obtaining a use variance and site plan approval. But right above that, it says applicants specifically agreed as a condition of approval that they would not serve food to the public, but only to registered guests. That was a condition of approval of the variances and site plan waivers granted by the planning board, which cannot be ignored. Neither the zoning officer nor this zoning board has any jurisdiction to repeal a condition of a planning board approval. So if we vote for this, does that go against?
You're looking at the 2004 or something?
2003, yeah.
Resolution, 2003, yeah. No, we wouldn't be violated. When a use variance is ours to grant or not grant. So the planning board can opine on it, but ultimately we decide if we grant a variance or not.
Okay.
So, I don't believe that by granting this, you would be violating anything that the planning board did.
Okay.
So that was their rationale. I read that about an hour ago. So an hour before the meeting. Their rationale was that if they had wanted a hotel, they should have asked for a hotel. That would have required a variance. And we, speaking as the planning board at the time, couldn't have done that anyway. So we're not going to, circumvent that process by allowing you to call this a hotel now. If you want a hotel, you should have asked for one. So what they were referencing there was, if you want to do that, you have to go to the zoning board to do that. So they're kind of doing what they should be doing, which is coming here to do the hotel that they were talking about back then. So
Okay.
I think you're square with the planning board.
Okay, there are a lot of people here that may want to speak. So the first thing we do is open it up to anyone within 200 feet of the property.
And Madam Chair, we just reserve our right to respond to any comments made, please.
You would come down in an orderly fashion, come to this podium here, turn on the microphone, state your name, address, and you'll be sworn in. And according to how many people are here, we should limit it to, what do you think?
3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes, and you have one opportunity to come down.
Good evening. My name is Ray Went with the Went Law Firm. I represent John and Judy Lynch at 714 Corgi Street.
Can you speak that a little slower, Ray? I got to write that down.
714 Corgi Street. I represent John and Judy Lynch, L-Y-N-C-H.
Okay, now the address, I was still in the names.
714 Corgi.
Is that microphone on?
It is. Before I begin, we have a little bit more of a lengthy presentation than 3 to 5 minutes.
No, that's, you give a professional.
I'm a professional expert. I was hoping we could take a seat at the table
Yeah, absolutely.
and present if that's okay.
Yes.
Great.
And if any member of the public has a special reason that they want to go longer than that time, like if you have an expert engineer or someone that you want to testify, that the chairperson will consider those. We just set 5 minutes because there's 20 people, that's 100 minutes, that's an hour and 40 minutes. So you can see why we're a little sensitive to that. So, you know, the chair is not trying to offend anybody. We're just going to keep it moving.
Okay, please bring the mic close to you when you're going to testify, please. Thank you.
Whoever's testifying, I'm going to swear you in. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Peter Steck, S-T-E-C-K, 80 Maplewood Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm a professional planner.
Say your name.
My name is John Lynch. My wife and I own the house at 714 Corgi Street, situated right behind the Southern Mansion. I'm as Sam says, a professional engineer. I have about 40 years of real estate development, my own business.
Mr. Lynch, microphone, please. Turn it on, please. Thank you.
Because they record it, so they need to have it.
Thank you.
You mentioned you're a professional engineer, but you're offering fact testimony, not expert testimony, right?
Correct.
Correct.
I just don't want to, I don't go into his credentials. Go ahead.
No, thank you for clarifying.
Again, my name is Ray Wendt. I represent John and Judy Lynch at 714 Corgi Street. We are right across the street from the Southern Mansion. I'm not going to speak very much because I have a little dental work I'm working through. So if I'm talking a little out of the side of my mouth, it's not because I'm an attorney. It's because I have a little dental work going on. And you don't need to hear from me tonight. You're going to hear from plenty of people that have a major, major problem with this. It is going to affect their neighborhood in a way that just can't stand. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to start first with Mr. and Mrs. Lynch, followed by Mr. Steck. At that point, there are a number of members of the public. We've tried to coordinate it so that they are close and then move further and further away so they get the most impactful statements from the ones closest. And we'll try to wrap things up so you can get home early tonight, or earlier. With that, I'd like to reintroduce Mr. Lynch. He's already identified that he does have some expertise in terms of his profession. He's going to provide some factual background about how this is going to impact his property and his family's property. He did put some numbers together that I think any layperson can do about what he sees in terms of traffic and the like, but we think it's still factual testimony. If Mr. King disagrees, I'm sure he'll let us know, but it's what he sees every day and what he's been able to put to paper. So with that, Mr. Lynch, if you would, please tell the board what you are observing, what you observe now at the property, and your concerns about what is being proposed and how it's going to affect your property.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity here. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know as to the importance of the zoning in New Jersey. I'm sure you can read it chapter and verse to me. But Pennsylvania and Jersey are the same. Back in the 1920s, they adopted use as the basis for zoning to protect incompatible uses, to protect residential neighbors from uses that were incompatible, such as commercial uses, for controlling traffic and congestion. Again, it goes on, but you know all this, so I'm just going to move on. But this property is in the RS district. You heard that from the applicant, and it's true. It's also true that the use they're proposing, which is a public bar and public restaurant, is incompatible with the residential zoning in which it sits. Actually, it's stronger than that. It's not allowed. That's the use component we're talking about here. I got lost along the way a little bit here tonight because I kept hearing about the testimony of the Historic Preservation Commission and the Shade Tree Commission and all the other agencies that I'm familiar with in other jurisdictions. And that's when I realized, oh, they're combining the use variance with the application for preliminary/final site plan. So for record keeping for in clarity for what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm speaking about the use variance. And all the things, like, for example, the testimony about the Historic Preservation Commission, why I appreciate that we live in a historic home, it's not relevant. As the solicitor said many times tonight, you control the zoning, not the planning commission, not city council. That power is totally within your hands. It's totally within your jurisdiction. Having said that, and I'm going to go through it, I respectfully ask this board, this body, to deny the requested variances and related bulk and parking variances.
Mr. Lynch, I'm going to interrupt you. I apologize. As you get into the actual testimony regarding the impacts to your property in the neighborhood, I'm going to hand out what we've marked as exhibits, Lynch 1, 2, and 3. It's a packet. There's an index for your solicitor so he doesn't have to get writer's cramp writing them all down. I have a copy for the applicant as well. I'll just hand them over. You can take one and pass them down.
And I'm calling this a packet of what?
3 exhibits, and I'll describe them. We have
I just need a name.
Lynch 1 is aerials,
Okay.
2 of them. Lynch 2, and there's an index on top of these exhibits as well, are 3 photographs of Corgi Street taken May 25 and 26 of this year. And Lynch 3 is the what we call the Steck packet, and that's these are exhibits that Mr. Steck is going to reference during his testimony. And the pages are numbered as well on the bottom right-hand corner, so if a particular page of an exhibit is referenced, you can go right to that page.
Thank you.
If you want to refer to it, it's there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. As I said, I'm requesting that this body deny the use variances as well as the related bulk parking variances. And I'm doing so not only because they're not allowed in your zoning ordinance. I'm doing so because they create substantial impacts on the neighborhood behind it. And how do I know that? Well, I know it because I heard testimony to this evening from the applicant saying they don't exist. Well, there was no basis for that because they didn't approach a single person behind the Southern Mansion to ask, can we look at your historic home? Can we understand how you live in that home? Can we understand how that home is related to whether it will be the use of the Southern Mansion of a public bar and public restaurant? Didn't happen. So therefore, I categorically suggest to you, there is absolutely no basis for that statement by the applicant to say there's no impacts because they didn't do the job. As to what we're talking about here, these variance requests that the applicant has presented this evening, they're not operational changes. I mean, they alluded to that when they talked about how how trash was going to be handled and how parking was going to be handled. They're just operational changes, sort of an extension of what's there. Well, I'll tell you why that's not true. Look at the variance application. The variance application specifically says 2 new uses, brand new uses, in addition to what already exists. So these are not operational changes by any stretch of the word. These changes are going to bring outside customers to our neighborhood as a destination use of a public bar and a public restaurant. That's what they're doing. And when they bring those people to our neighborhood, and there are others here who will testify, but I will introduce the concepts, they're going to be bringing with them an expansion of the smoking that we already have outside in the morning hours, late morning hours, of the hate to use the word drunken revelry, but let's say the carrying on outside of the Southern Mansion on Corgi Street at all hours. They're going to bring the noise, they're going to bring the odors of the restaurants, they're going to bring the arrival and departure of many, many more guests to the Southern Mansion that currently exist. So these impacts are going to be materially different than the impacts that the lodging guests present today. Totally, radically different. It's not possible to reach any other conclusion when you realize you're introducing uses that are otherwise found in your commercial zoning to be brought into, to be invited into a residential district, an historic residential district, in fact. When my wife and I bought the home, we went through many meetings and consultations with the HPC ourselves. And they were very, what's the right word I'm looking for? It's a positive word, but they were very supportive of what we were trying to do. But that's not really the word I'm capturing either. Anyway, the HPC and we were involved when we bought the home. And the HPC puts a lot of emphasis on the historic character of Corgi Street. So today I'm sitting here, I'm listening to the applicant's testimony, and they go on and on about how the importance of the historic aspects of the Southern Mansion and how they're going to promote tourism in effect, to bring more people into the Southern Mansion because it's important. But what about the historic aspect of the neighborhood that's behind them, which they've ignored? And I've already explained why I know they ignored it, because they didn't approach us. That's a fact. So we have material changes that are happening here. They deal with the I guess they're called D2 variances, the highest standard of a variance in, I believe, in New Jersey concerning these uses. D1, thank you. Then you get into the parking. And I got it. If it wasn't so sad, I'd laugh. But here I heard testimony about parking tonight, and they need relief from parking. So on one hand, they're asking for use variances to intensify the uses, but introducing 2 new uses that are not compatible with the zoning district. And then they're turning around and saying, hey, by the way, we need relief from parking because we don't have enough. And you can't take into account the recommendations of the HPC. That's not, the zoning is not the HPC. I respectfully have worked with many historic preservation commissions and many, many projects. They have their mission. It's a great mission, and I support it. But their mission doesn't pertain to your burden. You carry the ultimate authority here of truly possibly eroding something that goes back to New Jersey into the 1920s, which is use zoning and how it's applied and how it's used to protect existing zoning and neighbors. So that's why you get paid the big bucks. You have that burden. So with regard to the relief from the parking, the use variances will materially aggravate existing problems. They have problems out there because we know of parking problems as they impact Corgi Street today, as it operates as a guest house. You start ginning it up with a 120-seat bar and restaurant, you're in a whole different league, whole different set of problems.
And as we get a little bit more into the specifics of the effects on your property in Corgi Street, just so you can identify for the board, we've marked as Exhibit Lynch 1. These are aerials of the property a little bit further away, and is that a photograph of your property below
Yes.
that on page 1? And then the next page is a little closer up version of the aerial.
And it shows the Southern Mansion, and to the left, to the lower right, you see a red dot. That would be the home of my wife and I. 714 Corgi.
And you may or may not want to talk about these yet, but might as well introduce them so that the board's familiar. You provided 3 photographs that we marked as Lynch 2, dated May 25 or 26, depending on the day you took each photo. Those are photographs that you took?
Yes.
Okay. And when you're ready, is that they depict various angles of Corgi Street?
Yes.
Okay. When you're ready to talk about them, I just want to identify them for the board so they know what you're referring to at some point.
There's another photograph of a photograph of Corgi Street. Do you have that?
No. unless it's, those
All
are,
right,
those
I'll
are the three.
We'll deal with it. It may sound, because this home, this community that we built, became part of since 2012, is near and dear to us. So it may sound as if I'm somewhat strident at times, and that maybe I have some axe to bear with the applicant. I don't. I have a history with the applicant. Back in 2022, the applicant came before the city council requesting a transfer of her liquor license. And I think I wrote a letter of objection, or expressed concern, not objection. And she reached out to me and suggested we get together, and we did. She invited me to her home. She was extremely hospitable, pleasant. We had a great conversation, and I took what she and I discussed back to the neighbors. And just for the record, things we discussed were concerns about noise, concerns about odors, concerns about lighting, concerns about hours of operation, because she went to bring her liquor license in. And the neighbors and I hate to say held her nose, but we did. We held her nose and tried to be good neighbors, because at the time she was representing that she was having hardships, financial hardships. And I said, all right, but let's see if we can't put something together. And she helped us with maybe realigning some operational capabilities. But that approval that introduced a private liquor license for the residents of the inn, and the ability to have a restaurant for the residents of the inn, that was an accessory. And I think the solicitor in his conversation earlier this evening, I heard him relate to that. We're not talking about accessories. We wouldn't be here if it was an accessory. We're here because they need a use variance from this body. That's why I'm here. So there's no disputing. It's not an accessory. But the other part that's troubling, and call me old-fashioned, not just because of the color of the hair. We, as the neighbors, met with the applicant in 2022. We met with a solicitor at the Southern Mansion in 2022. We agreed not to object to what they wanted in 2022 in exchange for the good faith cooperative effort of what we were mutually agreeing to. Well, the approval of these variances is now a reversal of the basis on which the approval was granted in 2022. It's just throwing it out like it didn't exist. I don't know how a person does that. I really don't. If you came to me and said, hey, can we reach an agreement on something, and I shook your hand, that would be it. I don't know how we throw this out the window like it pretends it doesn't exist, but that's what's being done.
What concerns do you have as it pertains to the Corgi Street, its size and its configuration, based on what we've heard tonight?
All right, but let's get into that. I have concerns on multiple fronts, but let's go through the list. The cartway width of Corgi Street in the section behind the Southern Mansion, which is the section where most of the neighbors here are going to be here to discuss, varies between 19.5 feet and 19.63 feet. 235 inches and some change. That's the cartway width. So it's under 20 feet. But we have parking on one side of the street. So you can look at the 19.5 is easy number, and you're either going to reduce the travel cartway from either 8 to 10 feet, depending upon what you want to use. And measuring how people park along the street, it's more like 10 feet, because the people don't kiss the curb with their wheels; they're off a little bit. So that brings us to the issue of the International Fire Code, and that New Jersey enforces the Uniform Fire Code, which is largely a takeoff of the International Fire Code. And both codes, and I can give you the sections if you want them, but they're out there. Both codes speak And let me say that the Jersey Code was adopted as recent as 2018. Both codes speak to the requirement for emergency access, emergency vehicle access, a minimum of a 20-foot wide cartway unobstructed. Unobstructed is the defined term to mean no parking. So here we are with Corgi Street, somewhere between a 9.5 feet to 11 feet wide cartway if you net out the parking. And what the International Fire Code is requiring, which New Jersey adopts, is 20 feet. So we already have an existing situation where the cartway width of Corgi Street is not consistent with current requirements. And we already have situations on Corgi Street because of that.
Such as?
Well, we have vehicles blocking traffic on Corgi Street, stopping truck deliveries, for example. We get into it, but there's deliveries for the Southern Mansion. We have.
Are you testing? I just want to try to, I think Mr. Wendt is trying to get you to say actual facts of things that you know personally.
I do know these things.
Opposed to opinion about engineering. Can you testify, I have seen trucks on Corgi Street. They unload things there and block traffic. If you can say that, I think he wants you to say that, and the board wants to hear that factual testimony from you. Because you have an engineer over here, who presumably your planner is going to talk about impact and negative stuff, but I think we're looking for facts. So can you talk about the things you've seen on your street that affect you, that originate from the Southern Mansion use?
Well, okay. Let's start with today. The day at about 1:04 p.m., a tractor trailer, a full-blown tractor trailer, pulled up, blocked in the neighbor's driveway completely, and was doing delivery services through the rear door of the Southern Mansion. Now, you can say, well, what's the big deal? Probably 30 seconds, a minute to let the tailgate down. It was 21 minutes they sat there. 21 minutes. So if you go back to the issue of emergency services, and you have an obstruction, the solicitor I just testified to, as one example. What happens to the residents of Corgi Street if they need ambulance service? What happens to the residents of Corgi Street if they need fire access? Evacuation, who knows? What's the value of that person? I guess you have to weigh that. But we do know that the operations of the Southern Mansion do require trucks to come down, and they stop and they interfere. And other.
And you believe that'll be worse under the proposed use?
I don't believe it. I know it.
We'll testify to it.
I know it. Yes, I know it because I'm going to testify to traffic in the next breath.
Okay, good.
So.
What is the traffic like now, and what do you anticipate it to be like if this is approved?
Well, there was no traffic testimony offered this evening by the applicant.
We want to know what your testimony is about the traffic.
I got it maybe erroneously, but I thought the applicant was for a 96-seat bar and restaurant. This evening, I learned it was for a 120-seat bar and restaurant. So I can't testify to the impacts of the 120, but I want to testify to the numbers of the 96, so you would understand. What I did was, the industry standard for traffic analysis is the Institute of Transportation Engineers. It's the ITE.
This is expert testimony.
Mr. King's going to cut you off. He wants to know, what do you yourself observe in terms of traffic? The numbers, and we appreciate you put that together. And Mr. King is asking for your personal experience and observation of traffic as it exists now. And everybody's going to talk about how it's obviously going to be a lot worse.
Well, that's what he wanted me to address. He wanted me
I
to
know,
address.
I don't object to you. You're allowed to be an expert, but if you're going to give expert testimony, I want to qualify you as an expert. Otherwise, you give an opinion. So you're a factual witness now, so you're to give facts.
Okay, well, I want to
If you wanna-
testify.
I'm not upset with you. I just want to make sure the record's right, because this
Do
is
you,
tested.
do you want to give your credentials and be sworn in as an expert? I don't know
Yes.
if that's going to happen, but.
Yeah.
Okay, provide your credentials, and then we'll see if Mr. King admits you as an expert.
Chair will decide that, but go ahead. Are you licensed in the state of New Jersey?
No, licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. Professional civil engineer.
As a what?
Professional civil engineer. I was licensed in, I guess, probably 85. That's when I got my license.
What's your experience in traffic analysis?
I've done 40 years of real estate development, and I've engaged traffic engineers and used traffic analysis in the ITE manuals I'm going to speak about in multiple applications, because every project deals with traffic impacts that I've ever dealt with.
Have you ever testified before a board regarding traffic traffic impact statement or traffic analysis?
Yes,
Okay.
in Pennsylvania.
All right. Madam Chair, do you accept him as an expert in the area of traffic engineering?
Yes, but I'd like you to stick to the neighborhood a little bit more and not,
Well, if you allow me the traffic's brief. I'm trying to quantify, not from what I believe, but what the industry standard is of the traffic generation manuals are, which is trip generation. This use of the bar and restaurant called fine dining is a defined use in the trip generation manuals. Just open it up, it's right there. And it defines that if you're going to have a lunch and dinner, actually, if you have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner operation, it's going to produce 36 peak hour trips per hour. And then the industry standard in trip generation manual is that represents between 8 and 12% of the daily volume. So you take the average of 10%, the 36 peak hour trips will relate to 360 new trips originating from the bar and the restaurant. Now, tonight I heard that the applicant is probably going to be going the full bore, maybe not initially, but she's going to be going with a full operation. So those numbers are correct. Now, those numbers do not account for, people being dropped off and picked up. It does not account for Uber activity. It just deals with new trips. So from a standpoint of use and traffic on Cordier Street, there's absolutely going to be an increase in traffic on Cordier Street based upon the daily volume I just gave you. 360 new trips every day, every weekday I looked at. I didn't
Your
speak to
testimony is that
weekends.
they're going to go down Corbin Street?
I'm going to say that use is going to generate that. Whether or not they all go down Cordier Street, I'm not testifying to that. But I will say you that if I'm looking for a parking space, Cordier Street is an easy circulation for people looking for a place to park, to go right down Cordier Street looking for it, because that's what people do now. Cordier Street already has problems with parking because the post office people, employees, use Cordier Street to park. And I know this because they park ever so tightly to my driveway that I can't get out without driving off or outside the cartway with. I have to go up on the shoulder of Cordier Street to get off many times. This exists. It's going to, by introducing 360 new trips, it's going to get much worse. Can't change it. So the applicant testified that there's going to be parking on site, not to worry about it. Well, there's going to be parking spillover. It's going to be there. Let's talk about noise and related impacts. So you're asking, what do I know? Well, already, pretty much every time I'm down in the morning after a night of the Southern Mansion being open, I stroll down Cordier Street and pick up trash. Where does it come from? I can't tell you it's coming from the Southern Mansion, but I can tell you that I know that there's loud noises and people partying at the Southern Mansion because I can see them on the balconies. And it's quite logical as they come out into Cordier Street that they're introducing trash that I'm picking up. I don't call this the city and say we have a problem here, but that's what's going on. So we know we have noise problems. I mean, we're talking noise problems 1 a.m., 2 a.m. With
What issues do you?
no, I won.
To the board with these pictures too.
Well, before we get to that, where's the photograph of Cordier Street? You had it in front of me,
These are the 3 photographs.
and then you introduced the third to me.
There's 4. These are the 3 that you gave me.
This is funny. All right, we move on. Trash and recycling and odors. I beg you. The testimony was we have an enclosure where we have a dumpster. The dumpster's not being used. Okay, so no problem. We can simply add an additional dumpster, or we can increase the frequency of pickup. A full-blown restaurant and a full-blown bar offers a whole different type of waste is produced than simply breakfast for in guests. Totally different. And the grease levels and the stench that's going to accumulate there, it's just going to be a disaster. And then you're going to have, from the noise standpoint, you're going to have these bars attracting rideshare pickups. There's going to be outdoor conversation. There's going to be staffing closing activities. One of the issues that we dealt with in 2022 was, listen, the Southern Mansion would close, and then 1 a.m., the staff would be out there emptying the recycling containers. What do you think that sounds like at 1 a.m. in the morning when they're out there dumping these 55-gallon containers of glass, and it's just crazy. I don't care what is said about how it's not going to make an impact. It's not possible. I'll go further. It's not humanly possible to introduce these commercial uses that are not allowed in your zoning district and say, nah, we can handle this, we don't see any impacts. It's crazy.
Lastly, you talk about lighting.
Well, right there, the exhaust fan. Oh, the exhaust fan currently runs pretty much 24/7. Now, I don't have the photograph. Another neighbor is going to speak about it and show you a photograph. But the exhaust fan, as the applicant testified, is right on the back of the Southern Mansion. So who do you think is the recipient of that noise? We are. And in all due respect, if Barbara doesn't hear it, she better go to Costco like I did for hearing aids, because it's huge. Lighting. We heard testimony as to what they agreed to with the Historic Preservation Commission, and I applauded their efforts. If I was in their situation, I'd do the same thing. I would try to reach an agreement with the HPC as to what the HPC found effective, so they could get a recommendation for the preliminary and final site plan approval. We're not here about that. We're here about the use variances. And the lighting that's out there today came about because in 2022, Barbara said, we have to change our lighting because of insurance needs. So what was driving the bus was her ability to get insurance at a competitive price. So whatever you think the lighting is today, you don't know what it's going to be, because you can be almost dead certain at some point some insurance company is going to come in and say, in order to renew your policy, we need these changes, and they're going to be upgrading the lighting. Hopefully they would deal with dark sky lighting and things of that nature, but I just ask you to accept the fact we deal with the lighting today. We deal with it when it comes to our bedroom windows. The noise comes through the bed, floods through. These are old houses. These homes are not well-insulated homes, and not that the insulation would stop all noise, but they stop any noise. They're just transmission right through. So I'm going to wrap up with this, because I know you folks are busy also when we get home. one thing I guess is more of a question, was not, it's a statement. I heard the applicant speak to what the costs were for water, electricity, whatnot. And I was sort of baffled as to why that was even relevant. Was she speaking about those cost issues as related to the preliminary and final site plan approval? And from my experience, that's not part of the burden of that type of approval. And then I realized, no, she's trying to make the case that she wants to do a bar and restaurant because she needs it, because she's struggling under these costs. And she wants to do a great historic job, really do something tremendous for the Southern Mansion, revitalize the Southern Mansion, revitalize the area, bring people in, and therefore it's going to help her. Well, is there any one problem? I heard the same thing in 2022. So if getting what she wanted in 2022 did not give her enough revenue to do what she wants, I guess she's asking again. But it's not, revenue is not, under New Jersey law, a legal reason to grant a use variance. You have the burden of weighing whether or not we, the neighbors, are being impacted. We are going to be impacted. We have emergency services, we got traffic, we got noise, we got odors, we got recycling. It's over the top.
Covered it.
What's this?
Covered it.
Anything else?
Want to have your wife come up real fast and
Yeah.
move on?
That's what I wanted, by the way. That's the picture.
It's been sitting there the whole time.
All right. Good. If I may, I'm done. Exhibit Lynch 2, which you have, this goes way back to the cartway width and the emergency access that's suitable for Corgi Street. That's a picture of Corgi Street of what's available. When you have cars parked on the left-hand side and you have the Southern Mansion on the right-hand side. Per the International Fire Code and New Jersey's Fire Code, you need 20 feet. This is what you have. And this, by the way, just imagine which happened today, a Mack truck. I mean, we're talking a truck that's, what are they? They're, I don't even have the dimensions, 50 feet long with a huge big tractor, parking right there. There's not a prayer that anyone can get by that. And forget that. It could just be rideshare people coming and dropping off guests, or guests being picked off from the bar at the rear entrance. It's the same effect. It's the same effect. It's an impact on the emergency services and feasibility of serving Corgi Street. It's an impact on our parking with overflow. And the very things that, I'll leave you with one thought. The very things which we were told in 2022 were addressed, like, we're not going to have smoking out there, out behind the Southern Mansion at the rear entrance, because we objected to that, and that was the basis of our support. Well, it's still going on. I witnessed it.
In fact, there's a cigarette receptacle right out there, isn't there?
Yes,
Placed by the Southern Mansion to encourage people to put their cigarette butts there.
yes. We have, and this ties into the condition I listened to about, you're going to have a bar that's approved to be only for inside guests, and certain people said, well, how do you enforce that? And it was testified by the lawyer that says, well, we're going to stop them. Come on, it's just silliness. If you're going to tell me you're going to tag them with a wrist and they can't go through some sort of electronic gate to get outside, all right, but there's no way to keep track of people that have a drink from a bar from walking out the door. It's not going to happen. Much like if you look at the photographs, which are marked, same thing? Also part of Lynch Exhibit 2. I want you to look at the two photographs to show the hedgerow behind the Southern Mansion. And then I want you to go back to the resolution of 22, what was into the resolution that said the Southern Mansion was going to supplement, which means plant more because there are all kinds of voids in here, and maintain the hedgerow. Well, that's the condition of the hedgerow today, and actually this isn't the worst of it. There's another photograph which shows this much worse condition. That was a condition This is what we're living with today. The condition wasn't honored. The condition wasn't met of what was done in 2022. And any conditions you put on here today, it's silliness. Just like if you were to say, no trucks coming down Corgi Street. You can sign it for all you want. You can have conditions. You can send her letters. Even if with the best of intentions, there's going to be that day that comes when a new driver has a new route and they're coming down. It happens, and that's when you get into the emergency services issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lynch.
I truly, one, thank you for your service, and I thank you for giving me the time to express my thoughts, as possibly as disjointed as it was, but I appreciate the patience and giving me the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have his wife's testimony, Mrs. Lynch's testimony.
It's going to be very brief. Me too, I agree. And we're moving on. Just so we have a record of how many people actually objected.
Yes, just for the record, I agree with
Yeah,
everything.
well, you have to
Oh, go ahead.
be sworn in.
Sorry.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Judy Lynch, and our house is at 714 Corgi Street.
And you were
Cape May.
going to say?
And I was going to say that I just respectfully ask you to not vote for the variance that they are asking for. And I agree with everything John said.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, I'd like to reintroduce Peter Steck. He'll briefly give you his credentials, and then I'd like to have him moved in as an expert.
Good evening. Again, my name is Peter Steck. By way of experience and education, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Marquette University and a master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers. I was licensed as a planner in 1976, and I'm still licensed. It's in effect this evening. In terms of experience, I worked in the past as an associate planner with two consulting firms. One is Malcolm Kassler Associates that was in northern New Jersey, and the other one was Alvin Gershon Associates that was out of Trenton. For just short of 10 years, I was the planning director for the Township of Montclair, and for the last 20 some odd years, I've been self-employed as a community planning consultant, representing some municipalities, some developers, some neighborhood organizations. I've appeared in approximately 220 municipalities in New Jersey and been accepted as an expert planning witness. I've also been accepted as an expert planning witness in Superior Court, as well as New Jersey Tax Court on land use issues.
I think that'll cover it. I'd like to ask that Mr. Steck be admitted as an expert.
Yes.
What I'll do is just describe my exhibit briefly, and then I'll...
Before you begin, I have two questions I always ask my experts, just to make sure we're covered from the lawyer's perspective. Are your observations and methodologies based upon accepted principles in your fields?
They are.
And will your conclusions be based upon a reasonable degree of certainty in those fields?
Yes, as a professional planner.
I'm going to keep quiet and let you present.
Okay. So I'll just describe what Lynch 3 is briefly, and then I'll refer to it as I go through my testimony. The first page has a portion of your zoning map on the left. And as you can see, this is in the residential seasonal zone. On the right-hand side, that's a 2020 infrared satellite photo where I've superimposed the outline of the property as well as the zoning districts. The second page, as well as the third page and the fourth page, are photographs that were taken by me. They were taken on May 26th of 2026. So on the second page, you have the view from up in the air of the property. And on the right-hand side, that's the lawn that apparently has grass pavers underneath it, but that's where parking is proposed to be shifted to behind the front facade. The next page, and that's P3 in the upper right-hand corner. On the upper left, you see the reversed photo. So this is up in the air looking toward Washington Street that is in the distant part of the photo. To the right-hand side is the one vent for the existing kitchen, and that's on the back face of the building. Below that are the formal parking areas. So on the lower right-hand side, that's where you enter from Washington Street, and then you can go, and right now it's an entrance only. And then when you go to a second area that's all gravel surfaced, that's on the left-hand side, and then you would exit to Jefferson, and you can see the refuse there. The fourth page are photographs also taken by me, but these are not with a drone. These are just standing up. So upper left-hand side, you see the current architecture, and there are a lot of windows, as you can see, that are facing this area that's proposed for parking area. On the right-hand side, you see the covered areas that are used now for breakfast, for the bed and breakfast. The fifth page has some renditions of the plans that I'll talk about in a minute. The lower right-hand side is the front parlor that's going to be one of the new restaurant areas. And finally, on the last page, I have also a 2020 satellite photo that shows the lot and blocks. And as you can see on the top, I've labeled Lynch on the house that's at 714. So back to the beginning, I reviewed the application, your zoning ordinance, your master plan, your reexamination report. I toured the property and the surrounding area, and I was here earlier this evening to hear the earlier testimony of the applicant as well as my client. This is a regular shaped property, three frontages. The last yard is a rear yard. It's a historic building in the secondary historic district, and the surrounding areas, as you know, are also in the historic district. It has, as testified, 23 guest rooms and 1 owner's quarter. It is advertised as a bed and breakfast, and indeed you can have breakfast there. The most cooking that goes on is eggs, French toast, some sausages, toast, bread, a fruit. Not a lot of cooking that would normally, in my opinion, be associated with a full-blown restaurant or a bar. Also advertised on the property is tours. There's a sign on Washington that says there are tours available at 12 and 1 p.m. and they're, according to the website, 40-minute tours. So there's really been no acknowledgement about the volume of tours, especially obviously during the better weather, whether people drive to take the tours, but it's a midday event, and they're there are 40 minutes each, at least as indicated on the website for the property. The property today has in the, I'll call it the northeastern section, the one that you enter from Washington and exit on Jefferson, there are 24 spaces that are in a gravel surface, and then there are 7 spaces that are on the brick area. There is no handicap parking on the property today. If you look at the applicant's plan, they show 2 handicap spaces by the eastern corner of the building. There's no sign that they're for handicap parking, and in fact, there are 3 spaces there physically. So my observation is that the applicant today doesn't have any handicap spaces that are signed according to law and reserved for that purpose. This has already been clarified, but as you know, in the past, and it's attached to the application, there were 3 applications to the planning board. There was one documented by a resolution on April 15th of 1995. There was a follow-up on February 7th of 1996. Those improvements included a swimming pool and a lot of other things not implemented, obviously. There was a resolution on April 3rd of 1996, and that was the one that addressed serving.
So our board's seen all those. In fact, there was a question about that a half hour ago where she indicated she had read it and asked a question about it. So that historical part, like, that's the record. Maybe you could get to the part of the things you don't like about the current application.
Well,
Handicap parking, where the proposal corrects that and provides it, I believe. So it's actually a positive. So
it was part of my research. So I just want to emphasize that those were all before the planning board, and the planning board had jurisdiction because it was classified as a tourist guest house and not as a hotel. And that was clarified by this board on July 9th of 2003, where you declared that your zoning officer was correct that a use variance was needed. The applicant is, you are aware of this application. The applicant is, in my opinion, adding a new use to the property that is not an accessory use. There was already an approval granted for bed and breakfast.
we don't disagree about that. We know that. We started off by saying we all agree that this is a D1 use variance.
There are 3 other variances that are cited. I would just, as a technical point, say the relief needed from 225-60 capital D is really an exception under the municipal land use law because it's a design standard and not a zoning standard, but the applicant still has the burden of proof to do that. I'm sure you have a fair knowledge of the surrounding area. The surrounding area is predominantly residential and is indicated, the streets are fairly narrow. On Corgi Street, the cartway width, the paved driving area is about 19 feet, 5 inches. There is permit parking on one, so the parking is allowed on one side, and that's a one-directional street. There's parking on one side, and some of that is permit parking. So residential people can reserve a space, so that's not available to the general public. As you know, Jefferson Street has no parking on either side. Washington Street, parking only on one side. As part of my analysis...
Did you say Corgi only has permit parking?
No, it has some permit parking. It's signed for permits, and apparently residents can reserve a space on the street or get a permit for it.
Yeah, they can.
No, I don't disagree with that, but the testimony was that there was going to be a bunch of public parking on the street, but if it's all permit parking,
I'm countering the testimony of the applicant if you'll let me continue, I'll
I
get to
wasn't
that
asking
point.
discontinue. I wanted to understand. I thought you had said it was permit parking. on
There's signage for permit parking, and so some residents have a permit that allows them to park, to reserve a space on the street, so it's not generally available to the public, those spaces. There has not been any testimony this evening about your master plan. There was the planner said, oh, it doesn't impair the master plan. Didn't identify what the master plan was, didn't talk about anything about the master plan. I looked at the master plan. Your last comprehensive master plan was 2003, and it talked about, as one of its goals on page 20, to preserve the established residential districts. So there was a theory of preservation independent of whether it's a historic district or not. In commercial land use, also on page 20 of the 2003 master plan, it said to encourage the continuation of a variety of types of commercial land use within the city's existing commercial districts. So we like commercial activity, but we like it in the commercial districts. This is not a commercial district. The master plan recommends a zoning pattern that's the same as in your zoning ordinance, an RS residential seasonal designation. Your master plan also had a table that recommended where uses were permitted. And eating and drinking establishments that are licensed were, according to your master plan, recommended to be in the C1 and the C6 districts, not permitted in the RS district. That 2003 master plan is a little old, but the planning board adopted a re-examination report on March 12th of 2019 that essentially reiterated those observations. Drinking establishments, and they added a zone there, was recommended to be in the C1, C2, and C6 zones, not in the RS zone. So your zoning is consistent with your 2003 master plan, and its validity was affirmed in 2019. I want to return to the exhibit and make certain observations. So, first of all, as you know, the burden of proof is on the applicant. They have to prove their case. There's been no testimony about the availability of on-site parking. Sometimes developers come in and they do a survey. Let's say in the evening when my restaurant is going to be booming, how many parking spaces are available in the area because I have a shortage of parking? There's no evidence on the record of any survey that was done. There's no discussion of the venting system for the kitchen. I would suggest to you that a full-blown restaurant and a bar is going to produce more noise for different and more smells for a different period of time. It's going to be more in total, and it's going to be at a different time period. Right now, they just serve breakfast, right? So that's when the vent system produces smells. There's no discussion about any kind of filtering system. The record is silent about that, and the only vent is the one on the back end of the building on Corgi Street. No testimony about noise. You can hear the vent system, but there is no testimony about the noise. And if you required the applicant to have an EIS statement rather than waiving it, presumably the applicant should address that because that's obviously a land use impact. I also note that the applicant has sat down with the Historic Preservation Commission. They've made recommendations. They are only recommendations. Since you have jurisdiction of this application, you can accept their recommendations, you can disagree with them, but they're only a recommendation. They don't bind you, as you know that very well. So the focus of the reason we're before you, the applicant is before you, is that this is a Medici case. And the Medici case said you have to advance some kind of public purpose. You have to show that the site is particularly suited to the use. And you have to meet the negative criteria that it's not, doesn't substantially impair the master plan, and it doesn't, is not substantially detrimental to the public good. It's not a balancing test. You know, were this a hospital or a church, you balance the negatives and the positives. The applicant has to show the positive criteria independent of the negative criteria. So here are some observations before I go to my summary conclusions. It's great that the applicant is going to do grass pavers and is shifting the parking back. It's just that you don't see many cars there, except maybe on a few weddings, but that area, it looks like green lawn, and it's great because part of the historic charm of this is not only the architecture of the building, but it's the grounds around it. They're well maintained, they're beautiful grounds. While the applicant is now going to produce 10 parking spaces that are close to the building where all the windows are, where you have breakfast, it's great if no one parks there. But I would suggest to you that boxwoods and landscaping is not going to hide cars that are parked there. And what's going to happen is, because of this restaurant, the convenience of parking right next to the restaurant, and now a luncheon trade and an evening trade that is extended because of the bar use, you're going to see cars there. It's not going to be the green benefit that is being proposed. Clearly not an advancement of the historic aspects of the property. In fact, I would suggest kind of a detriment to the people that are sitting there in the building, because though that shrubbery is not going to screen the fact that there are cars parked there. There are, the applicant is saying it's particularly suited. Well, the applicant's planner said, pretty much didn't say why the property, in my opinion, was particularly suited for a restaurant use, which is prohibited from the general public. The talk was mostly about how great it is that we shifted the parking. The architect said, well, there's space there and it's a good use. And I would call those net opinions. Take a look at the space that's supposed to be peculiarly suited to the restaurant. The kitchen and some of the seating is in the basement of the building. So when you're dining there, not a great place to look at the lawn. You're subsurface. If you look at the page 5 of my exhibit, Lynch 3, and you look at the right-hand corner, and again, the numbers added up to 118 seats, and the applicant is proposing 120. But number one is there's a kitchen and a basement area, which I would suggest to you is not a great area for a restaurant to be eating in the basement. Number two, the parlor is on a different floor, and it's not connected. So here's someone cooking food, has to go up the stairs.
Is this a planning testimony?
Yes. I'm saying that the site is not particularly suited to the use
Okay, fine.
because of the contorted nature of, number one, how you fit these 120 seats in. That, again, this restaurant and bar has disconnected sections. that you have to leave, you have to come up the stairs, and again, no elevator, and I guess no handicap access to the basement. And you have to leave that space, go upstairs, and serve people food that's in an other end of the building, and it's not even connected. So, in my opinion, there is no evidence that the use, the prohibited use, the restaurant and bar, is particularly suited to the property because it's surrounded mostly by residential uses with a limited supply of parking. It is not particularly suited to the space because it's contorted. You're going to be eating in the basement, and then some of the people are going to have food delivered to the next story. That's not a very efficient design. How do you say that's particularly suited to a restaurant use? The applicant says that there's historic preservation purposes advanced. The building's historic, it's already fixed up. That was the rationale used on the last round. How does this enhance it? The building is already in good shape, as testified. So I disagree with the public purposes that are advanced. This is in a site that does not permit restaurants. It is a site that's in an area that's predominantly residential. It's in an area that has substandard width streets with limited parking. And that pattern is endorsed by your master plan. So what are the negative aspects to this? First of all, there's no testimony on the record of how this is reconciled with the fact that your master plan says a restaurant and bar shouldn't be here. This, in my opinion, if you approve this, the land use impacts of the restaurant and bar are going to be greater than the current operation of the bed and breakfast. It's later into the evening, more people are going to be using it, there's a greater demand for parking, more deliveries, more employees, more smoke, more smells. I would suggest to you that the applicant is not proposing this as an accessory use, but in my opinion, aside from that, the land use impacts of the bar and restaurant are going to exceed the impacts to the neighborhood of the current bed and breakfast use. And again, one of the issues is the 10 parking spaces look great. They happen to be in an uncomfortable location because people in the inn are going to, in the bed and breakfast, are going to take advantage of it. And as you saw from the photographs, there are open terraces. People with units can go out on the open terrace, can party, can do what they want. One thing, as you know, about liquor licenses, there's kind of a legislative acknowledgement that the effects extend. You know, you can't put a liquor license within 200 feet of a church. Well, who cares, right? If everybody's inside, well, the answer is the law recognizes that when you have a bar and a liquor license, that the land use impacts extend further than just the dimensions of the property. So, in my opinion, it has not been demonstrated that there are public purposes that are advanced. The use is not particularly suited to the property, and I would say it is particularly unsuitable because it's going to have a greater impact than the current use of the property in this setting. Not addressed by the applicant is how do you justify a separate principal use, a bar and a restaurant, that is not permitted in the zone. Now, the governing body can change the zone, but as of today, your zoning ordinance says no bar and restaurants. Your master plan said no bar and restaurants in this zone, and your 2019 reexamination report reaffirmed recommendation of your master plan. So in my opinion, I do not believe that the applicant has met its burden under the Medici case. And in my opinion, if you approve it as proposed, it will result in substantial impairment of the 2003 master plan and result in substantial detriment to the public good.
Thank you, Mr. Steck. That concludes our objection in chief. There are two objectors that have exhibits, just some photographs. They were going to go first, and then everybody else was going to go.
All right, Mr. Nyman has a mayor questions.
I don't intend to.
Get a microphone, John.
I don't intend to try to conduct a lengthy cross-examination of Mr. Steck, but there is one of his exhibits. If I can ask just a few brief questions on before we turn it over to the next witness, I'd like to. So, Mr. Steck, I'm looking at your page 1. I guess it's been marked as Lynch 3.
Yes.
You see that?
Yep.
You have encircled the property in question in yellow.
Yes.
I'm just pointing you to this. If you look to the northwest, immediately catty-corner to this property on the other side of Washington.
Yep.
Can you tell me if that lot has a commercial or residential use existing on it?
That's a commercial use.
What type of commercial use?
I think it's like a bed and breakfast.
If I told you it was the Washington Inn and it's a bar and restaurant,
Okay.
would that surprise you?
I didn't have a drink there, so I didn't
Okay.
know, but I knew it was a commercial use.
And that's in the R3 zoning district,
It
correct?
is.
Would that be an approved permitted use in there by right?
No.
To the north of that, next lot up on Washington Street, do you know what type of use is on that lot?
I don't recall that one. I just walked the block several times.
If I told you it was a funeral home, which is a commercial use, would you agree with that?
I wouldn't doubt that that was a funeral home.
Okay. And if I point you to directly on the other side of Washington Street, directly across the street from the Southern Mansion,
Yep, that's a Realtor office.
so that's a commercial use as well, is that
That
right?
is.
In the R3 zone?
Yep,
And going to the other end of Washington Street, at the corner of Washington and Franklin, still in the R3 zone, correct? According to your
Why
map,
don't you show me where you're going?
right here?
Yes.
Is that, can you tell me what use is on that lot, if you're familiar?
That's a bank.
It's commercial use as well?
Yep,
In the R3 zone?
yes.
Okay. Directly next to our property, in the RS zone here, what type of use is on that
That's
lot?
the post office that's exempt from zoning.
Okay, but is it a commercial use, post office?
Well, it's a governmental use.
Okay. And immediately next to the post office, does the zoning change
Yes,
on the other side of that street? And what zone does that turn to?
it's a C1 zone.
So would you agree with me that this property, albeit that it's in the RS zone, is a half block from the C1 zone?
Yes,
And in the C1 zone, bars and restaurants would be permitted, right? Yes or no?
I'm going to check my notes if you
Okay.
let me.
Sure.
You testified it was.
Yes, it was, it is permitted and it was recommended to be permitted. But for some reason, the governing body didn't extend the zone to cover this property.
I understand. That's all I have, Mr. Kingford, at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Went, do you have anyone else that you're calling up, or is this going out?
I only represent Mr. and Mrs. Lynch. We did try to coordinate the neighbors in a way that it would be succinct and orderly, so I can tell you the next two neighbors are Miss Betsy Parker, followed by John and Jane Howard. Because they have exhibits. After that, there's no more exhibits, and everybody's going to be more of a.
If we can limit them to
Your usual 3 minutes.
name their address in just a couple of minutes.
Is this?
Is there a particular reason you need more? If you do, the chair will consider it. It's okay, just, it's fine.
Ms. Parker? These are Miss Parker's.
Yeah.
I'll just.
Ms. Parker, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do,
Okay, can you, your name is Elizabeth Parker, in the usual spelling?
yes.
What's your address, Ms. Parker?
716 Corgi Street. I live right behind, directly behind the Southern Mansion. I'm going to hold this thing. I live directly behind the Southern Mansion, and I'd like to go on record that I agree with everything that has been presented by Mr. Lynch, Mr. Went, and our planner. But I also have some other issues that I'd like to quickly review. and one of them is the rear entrance to the southern mansion, which faces my house. Currently, when there is an event, the people congregate. They're smoking, drinking, and I think it's unrealistic to think that if we have a bar to the public, that staff is going to come and enforce them being removed from the area. So I would anticipate that the noise that a public bar and restaurant generate would be continuous every night. And I'm also concerned that Corgi Street is going to turn into a loading zone. And today we had, I think there's pictures here that you have, of a large truck that pulled up directly in front of my house. And I believe it was there for about 20 minutes, unloading right there at the rear entrance to the southern mansion.
Ms. Parker, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for the record, the exhibit that was passed out has been marked Parker 1. It's 4 pages of photographs, one photograph on each page, dated today, May 28th.
Right, around 1 o'clock. So musicians also routinely use Corgi Street to unload their amps and all their instruments when there's an event, in addition to flowers being unloaded. And at one point, we even had, or there was, a guest using Corgi Street to load their car with their luggage for some reason. So I feel that this restaurant bar will significantly generate a great deal more in noise, traffic, recyclables, trash, parking. I could go on. And being a resident, it would be a very unpleasant situation for me. So I respectfully request that you deny this variance request. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next neighbors that would come up would be John and Jane Howard, and they're, as far as I know, the last ones that have marked exhibits. I'll hand those out in advance. Again, they're photographs, they're actual physical photographs printed out. We've marked as Howard 1, and it's a total of 7 photographs.
Mr. Wayne, I just want to point out that the witness, Ms. Parker, did not actually testify, to my recollection, about this picture.
She did not.
Perhaps she should. Ms. Parker, I can't put this in evidence if you don't talk about it a little bit. Can you tell me what this photograph is, when you took it, and what it depicts in the briefest possible way? I just don't want it to be excluded for some reason.
Okay, I took it because, A, it's a loading, they're using it as a loading zone.
Right.
Do you still have the exhibit in front of you?
Sorry?
You still have the exhibit in front of you? I'll lay foundation so you have what you need.
I just wanted to say that she took the pictures and what it is, that's all. It's
Sure.
2 seconds. Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Did you take these pictures yourself?
Yes, I
And
did.
this is on Corgi Street?
Yes, it
And was
is.
it on May 28th, 2026? I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Today.
Okay, and what do you believe this depicts, and why is that relevant?
Well, it's parked right in front of my driveway.
Okay, and it's a truck
Yes,
making deliveries at,
the southern mansion,
okay, and you,
using the rear entrance, and they were there for approximately 20 minutes.
perfect, thank you. We got to get that on the record, we can't just throw a
Okay.
picture in there.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
I'm fine. Thanks. This is Jane and John Howard. What's your address?
Yes. 706 Corgi Street?
What? Howarth?
Howard, Howard.
Oh, it is D?
Yes, Howard.
That's okay, that happens. All right, 706 Corgi.
Yes.
The testimony about to give, if you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jane Petleski Howard. My husband and I purchased 706 Corgi Street as a second home in 2018. We became full-time residents in 2022. Our home is directly across the street from the Southern Mansion. Please refer to photo 1 for our view of the southern mansion from our front porch. As you can see, we are in close proximity. I'd like to go on record that I agree with what has already been presented by Mr. Lynch, but I also have additional issues that I would like to present as I opine that the current light and noise pollution issues that my husband and I experience living year-round across the street from the southern mansion would only be exacerbated by the proposed bar and restaurant and construction of same, as contractor hours are not currently observed when anything is done to this property. As previously discussed by Mr. Lynch, Corgi Street is a narrow one-way street with parking on the right-hand side. If deliveries were to occur, as they did today, and I didn't realize, of course, that a truck would be sitting there for 20-plus minutes, and I pulled down the street expecting them to leave, the only way out would be for me to back up a one-way street and then go the wrong way down the street, which of course is illegal and dangerous and would only add to the chaos. Photo 2 is a view of the delivery entrance on Corgi Street. In addition, we have Pearl Street, which is right off of Corgi Street, which can be seen on the aerial view previously presented by Mr. Lynch. It too is narrower than Corgi Street. It is a one-way street, no parking, that in season has a lot of foot traffic. I can only imagine people seeking parking for the proposed restaurant and bar, not familiar with the area, going down Pearl Street the wrong way, adding to a well-documented existing problem of wrong-way drivers in this area. It's only a matter of time, I opine, that someone gets injured or worse. We've already had incidents here where someone was confronted by a wrong-way driver and fell off their bicycle. I was personally frightened by a wrong-way driver while walking our dog on Pearl Street. On more than one occasion, wedding guests have cut through a gap in the southern mansion's hedgerow, and you can see the gap in the hedgerow. It's picture 3. They cut through a gap in the southern mansion's hedgerow with their drinks in hand to stand on the sidewalk on Corgi Street to smoke cigarettes and cannabis. Although cannabis is now legal in the state of New Jersey, it is not legal to smoke it in public. I can only imagine how this would be exacerbated by a proposed bar and restaurant. Picture number 4 depicts the smoking area currently behind the hotel that faces Corgi Street. We have also experienced several nights of interrupted sleep when at 1 to 2 a.m. intoxicated and or stoned people are ascending or descending the spiral staircase or sitting on an upper deck of the southern mansion talking and laughing loudly with the lingering smell of cannabis in the air. Again, the current noise level would be exacerbated by a bar and restaurant. And picture 5 is a view of the spiral staircase and deck. There is pre-existing light pollution from lights that outline the southern mansion's roof line and either side of the spiral staircase. They remain on 24/7, 365 days a year. The current lights shine into our home, especially our second floor bedroom. I imagine this will only worsen as additional lights would likely be added to walkways, parking, etc., should the bar and restaurant variance be granted. Please again refer to picture number 5 for a view of the lights, and then picture number 7 for the hedgerow in the current parking area that headlights easily shine through. Lastly, the roof exhaust vent, which emits sickening cooking odors, runs noisily for hours on end, and at times is forgotten and runs all night into the next day, and can again be heard in our bedroom, interrupting our sleep. I expect this too would worsen with the addition of a public bar and restaurant. And picture 6 gives you the exhaust vent. In the commercial districts, it is routine that walks are power washed and trash picked, as patrons are not neat nor considerate
after nights of drinking and partying. How can anyone see how imposing the commercial uses requested would be good for our existing residential neighborhood? I opine that our quality of life on Corgi and the surrounding streets will be materially degraded, as no conditions the applicant may provide are real, as the applicant can't control guests after they leave the Southern Mansion. I respectfully request that you consider the concerns presented by the residents and not approve this variance application. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Howard. I live at 706 Corgi Street. I just have a couple things I just want to add. My issue of concern is with the dumpster. You're going to generate more garbage and debris. I think it's going to be a situation that's going to bring in more rodents and vermin of all different types. I think it's a true concern considering you've got a dumpster that's basically, I think they said about 14 feet. The amount of garbage that's going to be generated from a restaurant and a bar is going to surpass what that dumpster is. It's truly going to bring in vermin on a grand scale. And then my other concern is if you have valet parking, you're going to circle around. The odds are it's going to really create a lot of congestion on Corgi Street. And I know you've heard it, so I don't want to be too redundant, but Corgi Street is really, really tight. And the other thing that no one's really mentioned is when that truck parks there, the post office uses Corgi as its main artery to get in and out. So that's going to really jam up things where it's just a constant flow. So if you've got cars circling to try and get into that restaurant or the bar or whatever it may be, it's just going to take it to a level of pure chaos. And I agree, if you allow me, just so I go on the record, I'd like to go on record that I agree with what has already been presented by Mr. Lynch and Mr. Peter Speck. And I respectfully request that you consider the concerns presented by the residents and not approve this variance application. I appreciate your time. I know you've been here a really long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone within 200 feet of the property that wishes to speak very, very briefly? Okay. You're
Hi,
within
everybody.
you're within 200 feet?
I am within 200 feet, 710 Corgi. So I'm here
So,
also, I'm sorry, Jay Joyce, Joseph Joyce.
What is it, Joseph Joyce?
Yes, Joyce, 710.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank all the members of the board here. I am on the same board in the town of primary residence, which is also in New Jersey, which is also a historic town that has many of the same challenges that you guys face all the time. And and you're volunteers. So I really appreciate that and know up close what that means. Everything that's been presented here today by the attorney, by John, by the other neighbors, I completely agree with. Today was a day where we had a 20-minute block on the street. We were trapped. We could not get out. An emergency, all I could think was an emergency vehicle would not get out. And the driver wasn't there to move it. He's moving things in and out of the truck into the Southern Mansion. So these type of things have got to stop. So you've heard about noise pollution, light pollution tonight of all types. I hope that the integrity of the master plan and that the integrity of the zoning as defined is upheld with the decision not to approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi,
All right, sir, what's your name?
John Carter,
Where do you live, John?
800 Washington Street.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and the truth, so help you God?
I do. So I can represent the Jefferson Street side of this issue after hearing all the Corgi Street people. So just quickly, that truck that they keep talking about today first stopped on Jefferson Street at about 12:30. So I think if you add another half an hour to your timeline, the truck stopped there, proceeded to circle around the block a couple of times before it ended up on Corgi. So I guess my point here is that you have to question the accuracy of the application. If the statement was that all the deliveries are made on the property, they clearly are not. Yesterday, there was another truck parked on Jefferson Street in a no parking zone for over 15 minutes loading into the property. This happens all the time. So this is not an isolated thing. And I think if you would spend just a few minutes and walk around to the property, you can see those driveways cannot accommodate long trucks. It's just physically impossible. So either they're going to have to restrict the size of their trucks or something's going to give. So this is my major issue. It's the traffic impact. MAC is running their trolleys down the street. It's going to be a nightmare with lunch and dinner service. The trolleys, the horse and carriages that stop by and lovingly describe the Southern Mansion are going to just see chaos. So I think you really need to consider this impact on the neighborhood. And just because we suffer through the Washington Inn and the bank and other facilities doesn't mean that we should allow this creeping intrusion into our neighborhood. And again, look at the Washington Inn and the traffic and the trucks, and we sort of laughingly talked about how they unload people on the street. You know, they're not supposed to, it happens, and what's going to happen with the Southern Mansion having lunch and dinner with an equal or bigger size operation? And you know, I agree with everything that's been said before by the lunch parties. I think so many things have not been addressed here. The number of employees and where they're going to park. Right now, the Washington Inn, as far as I know, has about 40 employees, and they're parking all over town to get here. How many employees are going to be need parking for this operation? It hasn't even been addressed. You folks are just saying the streets are fine, so there won't be any traffic impact. I just don't understand it. I don't think you're really doing a good job protecting the citizens. I'm a year-round resident for the last 6 years, and I put up with the Washington Inn, but again, I don't think it's right that we should have this intrusion and creep and change of use for this property. Please deny. That's all.
Thank you.
Hi. Some of you don't know me. My name's Crystal Hardin.
Okay, can you spell that for me?
Hardin. My family bought their first property in 1979.
Slow down. You watch everybody else do.
I'm tired. I'm going to get us all out of
So
here.
Chris is C-H-R.
Crystal, Crystal.
Your address?
924 and a half Corgi Street, 718 Madison.
All right, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and give your testimony.
My family bought their first property in 1979, so I've been a physical part of the growth, the tourism of Cape May. I've seen it all. I've been stuck on Carpenter's lanes with all the trucks. Their trash behind the mall is disgusting, the recycling, but no one ever says anything about that. The Southern Mansion, I used to party in there when I was in high school. It was for bohos and just all the kids partied back there. What Barbara Bray Wild has done to all of her properties has brought more revenue into Cape May. If you haven't had the honor or pleasure of going in the Southern Mansion, you really should. It's magnificent, the restorations. I know this because as a officiant, a wedding minister, I performed dozens and dozens of weddings there. Never heard one complaint. Actually, I'm surprised that some of my neighbors never complained about my 5 children walking to Star of the Sea School on Corgi Street. They're in grade school, 3 boys, 2 girls. They fight a lot. They're much louder than the weddings at the Southern Mansion. And being here so long, I'm in shape. I walk a lot. We walk to the restaurants. We walk to the Washington Inn. We walk to the mall. The Chalfont doesn't have parking. We go to the Ramble. No parking. Tons. One of my other parents' property is the historic, I call them money pits, historic money pit, historic Hotel Maycomber. It's never ending. We did eventually buy parking, but nobody else around there has enough parking. They took away spots on the beachfront in front of Convention Hall. It's like, are you kidding? So parking should not be an issue. This is a historical tourist town. We make our money, everyone makes their money by the tourists. And the more great restaurants, because Barbara only does top-notch, 4-star, immaculate. If you walked around her properties, all of her properties are magnificent. They put ours to shame. We work really hard. I still run them. I'm still working. I don't have time to nitpick about little things. I don't sit in my window. I'm cleaning rooms and doing weeds. This town needs more revenue to take care of the increasing taxes and utilities that are put upon us. So I could go on and on and on. I mean, I've lived here, I've been a taxpayer since 1992 myself. So, and I love what's happening to our town. It's growing. And the more great restaurants we have, I mean, it's not going to be packed. It's not going to be a bar like Carney's. They go to Harry's and Carney's to have that fun. Southern Mansion is classy people. And a lot of people can't afford to go there, which means great. The trashy people are going to stay on Beach Avenue. The classy people are going to go to Willow Creek. I love that because I live right down the street. And I like to walk to classy places to eat and drink. So I'm just trying to tell you the facts. I have no violin here. It's good for us, and you should approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I sat on the HPC for 3 years. I didn't like that.
My name is Ellie O'Donohue. I live at 811 Corgi Street. I wanted to go back and readdress a few.
It's amazing.
Does it reverberate?
Just go very slow. Ellie?
ELLIE.
Okay.
O'Donohue.
So you're going to put your name in the resolution. You want
Absolutely.
It's the last thing for me to mess it up. O'Donohue. O''DON.
OGHUE. O''DON. Okay, got it?
Got it. Ellie O'Donohue. And the address?
811 Corgi.
Okay, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, there you go. Now you say what you ever want to say.
Okay. I want to go back to the master plan and the revisiting of Washington Street, where there is an effort to tie in, because there are commercial properties situated on the other side of this property. So I want to go back and revisit that. If we look at the bank closes at 5 o'clock. If we look at the post office closes at 5 o'clock. If we would look at the funeral home, that's not open at night. And they have very ample parking for whatever they need in order to bring people off the street for a very short period of time. If we look at the real estate office, that closes at 5 o'clock. So when you try to tie in the C aspect of it, the commercial aspect, to our residential neighborhood, it doesn't match up for what they're looking for a use to what those are. If you look at the Washington Inn, that was established in 1978. The master plan came into play in 2003. And that master plan did speak very specifically to the preservation and protection of residential neighborhood areas, because they knew the town was growing. So I think it is the burden of the board to honor that intention, to honor what was already written, to protect neighborhoods, particularly since the town is growing so much. There is revenue everywhere. There's plenty of revenue in other properties. It should stay in the commercial zone. So to now infringe that and take that concept violate the master plan that was done. The Washington Inn was there before that master plan came in play. So I don't think you can really tie that in to balance that argument. So I think it's very important that the integrity of the position, of the burden that you've been placed with here tonight really looks at honoring the intention of that and protecting our neighborhood so that the whole town doesn't just become another Jackson Street. And I think it's not really fair to ask all the neighbors and all the deed owners and all the taxpayers in an area to support one person's, one family's need to benefit themselves with income. There are tours. People can come in and see the house. They don't need the restaurant to expose the beauty of, and I've been in front of the board with Barbara multiple times, and I honor and I think she does a great job, and I think what she did there was beautiful. So this is not personal. I think she's a hard worker, and I think that they've earned and deserved what they have, but they're asking neighbors to help them make more money so that we can all be inconvenienced by their benefit. And I just don't think that it lines up with the master plan. And so I'm going to circle back to that because I think that master plan was there for a reason. And you're the board here honoring, sitting with the city. And I think that master plan should be sitting on everybody's conscience tonight when you vote. So I thank you for your time, and that's it.
Thank you.
Please say your name and spell it.
Dana Severance. It's Dana, D-A-N-A, last name Severance, S-E-V-E-R-A-N-C-E. I'm at 722 Corgi.
722 Corgi?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it auto-corrected Severand to Severance, so I had to go back to that. All right, 722 Corgi, do you swear from the testimony about the deal will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. So I will be very brief. Thank you all for your time. I just want to go on the record as saying I agree with all of my neighbors on Corgi and on Jackson Street that have, Jefferson, that have testified. I wanted to just bring up one or two points that I didn't hear mentioned. I heard the applicant mention that the property is like, it already has a built-in buffer zone. I would beg to differ being on the back end of that. I have two kids. They're ages 12 and 14. We haven't heard much talk about children, but if anyone's gone down Corgi Street, you know that one block down, there's a basketball net. You frequently see kids riding bikes. My children love to play basketball. They like to have a catch in the street. And the reason why they like that is because it's a quiet street. In fact, that's why we picked that house to live on versus the busier Washington Street. So I think with all the testimony that we've heard regarding potential increased traffic, people circling the block looking for a spot, there's going to be a potential safety issue with kids outside playing, enjoying their front yards, enjoying walking down the street, grabbing a ball, going out of our driveway and riding their bike, and the potential for accidents to happen. I also, just because of where we're situated, I want to reiterate the point about the dumpster. I heard testimony about that the current dumpster is underutilized, that they can increase the frequency. I have concerns that if they utilize the dumpster more and given the different type of refuse that will be put in the dumpster, that there is the potential for more vermin, smells, and also just the noise and more frequency of having to empty the dumpster. So those are my only points, but I'm conscious of the time. So thank you for your time, and I just respectfully request that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm paying attention. Go ahead.
Please state your name and spell it for me, please.
It's Ted Wiedersheim, Wiederseim as in Mike.
Weiderst.
Negative. Wiederseim. It's not an easy one, I'm sorry.
No, this isn't you. This is my computer being bad. Sorry. It's worn out. I broke it. Hold on a second. Seim?
Seim.
Okay. All right. And your address, sir?
509 Franklin Street. I'm at the corner of Franklin Street, Page Street, and Pearl Street, which backs onto Corgi Street.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. And since it's very late, I'm just going to say I agree with the Lynch party. I agree with Mr. Went and Mr. Stack and all our neighbors that this application for a variance should be denied. And I thank you for your time.
The name took longer than the testimony. I apologize.
If this had been an hour ago, I would have been much longer.
My name is Victoria Clayton. I live at 808 Washington Street, and I also own property at 42 Jackson. I guess, first of all, I want to clarify that the Washington Inn and the funeral home are grandfathered, and they are considered non-conforming use, just so you know that, okay? I live across the street from the Washington Inn. I guess the one thing I just want to make sure, I have great respect for you, Barbara, and I have been to the Southern Mansion many times, and it's beautiful. I just want to clarify that there is a lot of rumors around town that you are going to open a speakeasy in the basement, and I just want to clarify, is that something that's down the road, or? Okay, I just wanted everybody to, okay, all right, I am concerned about noise, and I live now next to a boarding house because unfortunately the house next to me, George Andes bought it and has turned into a J1 house, and Dennis and I are not happy about that, but that's for another topic. So I am concerned that late at night, people leaving will be going down Washington Street at a very big speed. But otherwise, I like progress, but I don't think that this is something that our town needs at this section of town. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's just how I feel. I think we have a neighborhood, and Corgi Street is very residential. There are kids playing their basketball at night. They're playing kickball. I watch them. I hear them, and I think this is going to impact them very much. And also, the trash will have to be picked up every single day. When you have a restaurant that's 24/7, open every day, and I know that from being at the Washington Inn, they're going to have recyclables every day. It's going to be picked up. You can't leave there. So that's something that you should know, that the trash will definitely have to be picked up every day if you're operating lunch and dinner 7 days a week. So I just wanted to state that. And, you know, you have a big job ahead of you to make a decision, so good luck. I'm afraid this is going to fall down. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else within 200 feet?
Okay. Jerry Carter, 800 Washington Street.
How are you spelling Jerry? I got it.
Gerri.
In that address?
800 Washington. We live directly across from the Southern Mansion, and
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
it is.
Okay, go ahead.
We live directly across the street. My patio, I have a beautiful view of the Southern Mansion from my patio, which I enjoy greatly. I think it's a beautiful property, and I think the current use is the proper one. That corner is just crazy there. I don't know if anyone knows how the valet works at Washington Inn, but they make a broken U-turn on Washington Street into the Southern Mansion's driveway to go back to the funeral parlor and park in the back. So that corner there is just chaotic, and I've seen a lot of close calls with cars coming racing down in all the different directions. And on Jefferson Street, we always have trucks idling outside the Southern Mansion, making deliveries they can't fit in, I guess. They're sitting just out there by my patio, so I hear them a lot. And I just think that why on earth would we change what they are doing right now? They do it beautifully. They have weddings. They're very respectful. I don't have any problems with that. Only once do I remember they had a very loud DJ, but most of the time it's been fine. But the trash, that concerns me greatly, that they'd be picking that up every day. That's right across from us, and the vermin and the whole bit. It's just why? Why would you do this? Would you want to live there, right across from that, and the poor people on Corgi Street? Would you want, if that was your house, would you want this to go on? Ask yourself that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else within 200 feet? Anyone beyond 200 feet that wishes to speak? Okay, we're going to close it to the public.
Selectman Hauser, is there anything you feel needs to be said? Well, I don't know that the chairperson asked if there were more people within 200 feet, outside 200 feet, and then closed to the public. If there's someone, I don't know, that's the chairman's decision. She can reopen if she's.
You would like to speak? You can go.
No.
Are you within 200 or beyond? Beyond. Okay. You can keep it brief, thank you.
I promise I will. My name is Gladys McKinney.
Can you spell your name for me?
Sure, McKinney.
Can you speak into the mic? I can't hear you,
And her
please.
first name was Gladys?
Correct.
G-L-E-Y-S?
GLADYS.
Can you repeat the last name for me, please?
Sure, it's McKinney.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. What's your address?
I actually live in Lower. I work for Miss Wild, and I just want to give
can't
some
testify.
testimony.
I don't think you can testify, I'm sorry.
Okay,
You have to be a resident. You have to
okay,
be able to give us an address in Cape May.
okay.
There's some extraordinary exceptions to that, like if we were doing a nuclear power plant, you could go outside the area, but for a local restaurant, we have to.
No, I was just going to speak operationally, how she does things operationally. So
Oh,
it's
well,
all good.
That's a different thing.
Okay.
If you want to be called as a witness by the applicant, but I think no.
What do you
Okay.
want to do?
Ms. McKinney,
Okay, no problem.
thank you for trying.
No, no problem.
That's okay. Go ahead. Okay. Hold on one second. I just want to make a note about Ms. McKinney.
Okay. Are you within 200 feet or,
Farther,
but in Cape May?
yes,
In the
okay,
city?
May.
Can you say your name and please spell it for me?
Certainly. It's Carolyn Pocher Woody. That's Carolinn, Pocher, Pocher, Woody, Woody.
Okay, what's your address?
11 South Lafayette.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. My family's owned property in Cape May since the 19th century. Both of my parents actually met in Cape May. in Henry's, which is now Taco Caballito. Both of my grandparents, both sets of grandparents were full-time residents, and I've been a full-time resident for the past 20 years. And I've been visiting Cape May since I was a baby. So I don't know who remembers what the Southern Mansion looked like when it was the Crilly House, but I do. It was a dilapidated wreck, and when Ms. Wild purchased it in 1994, revived and restored and made a transformation of the property. And every single property that she's touched has been exceptional. The property that she's renovated on Lafayette Street, Willow Creek Winery, Legates, all top notch, 100%. And I think that she will do the same thing with a restaurant, an alcohol serving restaurant, not a bar. That's not what she wants. So I urge you to approve this resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, you're allowed to do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. Without going tit for tat on everything that was said tonight, just in closing, some things I'd like to add. The exhibits that you were provided by many of the objectors talked about, noise, talked about rowdy behavior, talked about deliveries off street. The only information or only exhibits you got were exhibits dated today. I mean, we don't have anything suggesting, as was indicated, that this is a pattern of usage. But all of that being said, you had the mic.
Whoa, that's not what we're doing. We had 2.5 hours of public comment. He gets to close, and then we're going to do, the board's going to vote, okay?
In addition to that, Mr. Solicitor and Board, a lot of the issues that were brought up were policing issues, right? Or noise complaints issues where you would think typically if these things were patterns that existed and happened all the time, that Ms. Wild would have citations issued against her, against the property. She's indicated to me she has never had a noise citation issued by the city of Cape May against her. So for all of these patterns to be as alarming and disruptive as they claim to be, there's nothing to back it up as far as I can tell, aside from some photographs that we received related to today's date only. That said, as I mentioned earlier, after the objector's professional planner went through his analysis and testimony, we understand that the RS district doesn't allow this by right, as you've said, and we've gone over multiple times. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're asking you as a zoning board of adjustment to bend the rules a little bit, to allow us to do what we're looking to do outside of what is otherwise permitted by rule, by ordinance. If the master plan is always a guiding, but that's a planning board metric, right? A zoning board of adjustment exists in order to grant deviances from what's allowable and required under ordinances and under the master plan. That's what we're asking you for, and that's why we're here. As I mentioned, this property is commercial in nature now. We're just seeking to expand that commercial use which already exists. There's commercial uses across the street directly on Washington, the next block down to the, I guess it would be the north, and to the south, right? We are half a block from the C1 zoning district. That we're not in the middle of a neighborhood, right? We know we back up to Corgi. This is otherwise a semi-commercial zone. We're asking if you allow us to continue to operate commercially with this additional use that we believe, as has been testified to by the professionals, is a use that is particularly suited for this site, and the site, given its size and availability of parking as we've already laid out, and just the general layout of the site, allows it to be suitable for the proposed use. So we thank you for your time. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a discussion? I'll frame a motion. I'll do a little talking first. All right, so this is a C1 variance.
C2.
Is it a C2?
We didn't ask for it under the hardship. It's a D1 and a C2.
Oh, I said C1. I'm D1.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
D1. I had the C stuff. You got to get through the D.
You do.
variance first, okay? And a D variance is a special variance. It requires 5 out of the 7 to say yes. It also has a higher standard. I'm not going to try to repeat it perfectly. The both of the professionals did explain the D1 variance. I'm not sure the D1 variance is set forth in the engineer's report. focused on a D1 variance. It's more of a generic one, but this is a site-specific D1 variance, meaning you have to find the site is particularly well-suited. I will say that I do think there is evidence to support that it's particularly well-suited. There's evidence to find that it's not, okay? I'm not suggesting that you say yes or no. I'm saying that there is some evidence that it's particularly well-suited. I think you are within your discretion either way that you vote on this, yes or no. This site is not far from the C2. It has several C2. I don't want to confuse you. This is a zone C2 and a variance C2. It is near a commercial district. It is surrounded by commercial uses, one of which is nearly identical to the proposed request. So the property is a humongous lot. It is a unique historic building with a lot of space in it and around it. So it does have site-specific qualities that could support a deviance from the zone. On the other hand, there is certainly also testimony to indicate that the site is not well-suited because it's right against a commercial road with all the concerns outlined by your community members. So there's certainly things you can consider, and I know you're not, this isn't a classic weighing C2 variance, but you're always weighing, you're deciding, you're looking at the benefits of preserving a historic site by having a use that might help preserve it on a site that seems suited for perhaps a commercial use. It already has a commercial use, so it's not like they're going from a house to a bar, they're going from a guest house to a bar. But it's right against a historic street, a small street. You have testimony about impacts on that street. You have a busy intersection. It's true the Washington Inn is there, but it also makes the intersection more busy. So can it handle another non-conforming use? So you're gonna weigh all that and think about that and decide and apply the standard, the D1 standard, whether the site is particularly well suited and whether or not there's a negative impact on the zone plan and zoning ordinance. You always have to consider the negative criteria like you do all the time, okay? So you're going to also consider the master plan. It's true it's not permitted by the master plan, but if it were permitted, they wouldn't need to come talk to you. So that alone isn't a reason not to grant the variance. It's just that one of the things you're going to weigh in your analysis, okay? When you vote, please give your reasons for voting. There's plenty of reasons that are on the record that can support your decision either way, so please try to draw some of those reasons into your statement while you vote yes or no. Does anybody have any questions? We're going to vote all at once. The application is presented as a whole. You have the parking issue. It's very interesting to me, the parking issue, because the HPC had them reduce the parking in a sense, move it closer to the building so that you're parking right up against the historic structure where everyone's looking out the window. The HPC has weighed that, in their opinion, and thinks that's better than having it out in a parking lot that was approved previously with compliant parking along Washington. That's the HPC's bailiwick, but quite honestly, that is just a recommendation. You guys can do what you want with that. You are in charge of the site and the parking. So you can discuss that or do something different. But at the moment, the applicant has justified their variance by pointing out the HPC, who are the experts in the field, have instructed them that it's better to do the parking the way they're doing it than the way they proposed it with compliant. So you should factor that into your analysis. But they presented the application as a whole, presented it as a whole. So we're going to vote as a whole unless there's an objection by the applicant or the objector. Okay, we're going to do it all as a whole. 5 votes are required for it to say yes. If it doesn't achieve 5 votes, then none of the variances are granted and the project is rejected, although they have all the other prior approvals and can continue doing what it is they're doing. Okay, so the motion I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you. We always make the motion in the affirmative. Doesn't mean it's suggesting how you should vote. It's just that way if you say yes, it's yes. If you say no, it's no. So we always do it in the affirmative. So the motion I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you, is a motion to grant preliminary and final site plan approval with the variances as outlined by the board engineer on page 4, oops, strike that, 5 of the engineer's report, 1 through 4, subject to the conditions outlined by the board engineer, 1 through 20, with the waivers as recommended by the board engineer in his report. That's the motion I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you.
Can we have that motion?
I make the motion.
Ms. Sheehan motions, Mrs. Notch seconds. Mrs. Notch.
No, and mainly because of the neighbors' objections with the smoking, the extra parking and, problems. And I just think, with the odor coming from where the, kitchen, I just feel that this is not the good use for this property.
Ms. Sheehan.
My answer is no. Cape May is small, so everything is close by, but that's one more reason why we have to keep the residential areas residential. I think there is substantial detriment to the public good. There is a reason zoning doesn't allow the restaurant and bar uses in a residential zone. I believe there's too much impact on the neighbors with noise, trash, traffic. This variance will push parking into the neighborhoods a couple streets back. There is limited parking on Washington and Corgi, so this means that parking will be spread deeper into the neighborhoods that are close by.
Mr. Walsh.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
I believe that it's important to preserve the residential neighborhoods for residential enjoyment.
Mr. Walsh.
I'm going to vote no also. The zoning laws are pretty clear. No bars or restaurant in the RS zone. There's no testimony that I heard that would change any of that. There's testimony that it would add vitality to the neighborhood. I don't see that happening at all. I think people leaving a bar late at night, anytime, walking down the street is not going to add to the vitality of any neighborhood.
Mr. Zexer.
I also vote no. I am concerned about the noise elements. I'm concerned about the waste and recycling pickup. The idea of a full restaurant and bar is going to expand that use significantly. I do understand the neighbors' comments, and I respect those, but just the idea of expanding the use of the property to this extent, I think does go against what I would think would be in concert with the zoning ordinance.
Ms. Stevenson.
No, I don't think there was enough evidence provided or information about business operations that allows me to determine if granting these variances would impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Venuto.
I think the ordinance got it right to prohibit the use of a restaurant and bar in the RS district, so I'm voting no. I don't believe the site is well suited for a bar and restaurant as the building backs up too close to the residential area right behind it.
Mrs. Werner.
I'm also voting no. I think that you've done a beautiful job there, but its current use is more in keeping with the neighborhood, and this expansion is a detriment to the neighbors and to the zoning plan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Council.
I need a motion to approve the bill.
I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Venuto motions, Ms. Stevenson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We just did the bills.
That's what it was.
Are you in favor? Yes. Any nays? No nays on the bills? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
We didn't pay the bills. Oh, well. Pay the bills next week. How are you?